Stapleton wins the game in a shootout in his first National Hockey League game.
Alrighty, folks. Now introducing, calling myself in, the lefty from the bullpen, Jay Swish over here. 93.1 checking in from the desert. Folks, that is North Scottsdale, as always, to be specific. This is Live in 5, episode number 27, baby. Number 27 at UND. Names that come to my mind: Carter Rowney, Stanley Cup champion with the Pittsburgh Penguins, I believe 2016-17 season. Joined, as always, freshly back from the mountains of Big Sky, those crispy black diamonds, baby, over there in Montana. The captain, folks, reporting live from Minneapolis, Minnesota. That is Minnetonka, if you're pinpointing it. Cap, how we doing? Before we get going here, as we always do, we plug the YouTube. Folks, go check out our YouTube page at Live in 5 2024. Please go like that. Subscribe to our YouTube. Every like and subscription helps. Again, as we try to get our viewership up, I think a lot of people are starting to switch over to YouTube as opposed to Apple and or Spotify. So please go over to our YouTube. That is at Live in 5 2024. Go check the boys on there. Go see our ugly mugs checking in over here. Right now, I got a Butter Golf basketball jersey on. 4th of July special. Sweating out. I just got off the Peloton, Auzzo. I'm absolutely leaking over here. So go check that out, folks. Auzzo, what is up with you, brother? Back from Big Sky. How was it? When did you get back? What was the beer count at? Did you get over that number I set you at 29 and a hook? That was 29.5.
That 29. Yeah, no, I'm doing well. Sorry, I didn't answer that right away. But yeah, that 29 and a half was fucking easy money. You know, it's something, there's something about those mountain beers, Jordo, like when you get up in the mountain and there's something about them, you know, it doesn't matter what it is, Busch Light, Coors Light, obviously the mountains are blue. It feels good drinking a Coors, but that Busch Light, it's almost like drinking a water that just kind of has a little beer flavor in it. So you can down, I mean, you're riding the lift up on these ski hills, you're drinking a beer every time, you make it halfway down, you pull one out, you drink another one. And yeah, I mean, I hammered the drinks throughout the day. Honestly, it's you know, throughout the day as you go, as you get a little more liquid courage, that's when you can really start shredding too. Like, you know, to start the day out, you're kind of scared a little bit, like, oh fuck, I might injure myself here a little bit. But then towards that end of the day, when you're on like drink 8 or 9 or 10, I don't even know, I lost count. Because you have a couple in the morning, like right when you get on the lift, like I would go like a couple of runs without one, but then at like 9:30, 10 o'clock, I'd pull a couple out and start drinking them. And then you stop for lunch. I would either get an Irish coffee. I probably had like 7 or 8 of those. I had, they're serving White Russians out there as well. Burying those, I mean, left and right. If it depended on if I was cold or if I was warm. Like if I was really warm from like a hard run and we just got in, I'd get the White Russian that's on ice. If I was cold, I was sitting in a line for a little while and I was cold getting in there, that's when I'd go with the Irish coffee. But yeah, man, it was easy to get that 29 and a half. It was, and then obviously you go in the hot tub after. I mean, you're crushing them in there too. So.
Post-game soak. And Auzzo, when you were on the hill, like what was the weather like? Because it can get a little crispy up there at Lone Peak and Big Sky. How was the weather? It looked like there was a bunch of fresh powder, but what was it clicking in at Fahrenheit-wise? Was it like hovering around 30, 25? What was it like up there? Did you need the toe warmers? Did you need the hand warmers? Or was it just white knuckling it, a couple layers and tips down, baby?
Yeah, no, it was honestly, it couldn't have been better weather. It was like 32 degrees at the bottom, which is great. And then at the top, I think it probably got, you know, it was blizzarding half the time we were on the mountain, which was actually fucking awesome when you were skiing because, you know, you feel like you're in a winter wonderland just skiing through these, you know, huge flakes of snow. And obviously, you know, you've got a little, you know, you've got people carrying around some joints or whatever it may be. So you're taking some tokes, you've got a little buzz. and you're just skiing through these, but I'd say at the top of the hill, or at the top of the mountain, sometimes it probably got to like 10, 15 degrees, like pretty cold up there.
Yep.
But then once you start going down, you kind of forget how much of a leg workout it is, but your thighs get screaming, and it's a bit of a workout too, especially if you have to push or walk or do any of that. So I never had a problem getting cold out there. It was the perfect weather. We probably got about over a foot of fresh pow snow, which just makes it even better. I mean, you can floor it down the hill. You're not scared to crack your neck in half or anything like that. But no, I mean, I know I sent you my what happened to me on the first day. So I'll share this,
Yeah, you gotta get into this.
Yeah. So the first day I made a huge mistake, Jordo. I had too long of skis the first day, and it was a little hard for me to turn on the the slopes we were going on. I dressed a little too warm as well. So I was having I was a little too hot. I was sweating bad.
Yep.
I was a dripping sweat. So I got a little dehydrated. Obviously, I was having some beers. And the night before, when we get there on Thursday, I make the mistake. I don't normally eat like French fries and tater tots and, fried buffalo wings and all this stuff. Like I'm not really eating that stuff anymore. But that day on Thursday, I got there. My lunch was buffalo wings and tater tots for lunch. And then I had, I think like a huge ass burger and more tater tots and gravy for dinner.
Oh my God. I remember you texted me, you put your body and stomach through the absolute gauntlet.
Oh yeah, it was terrible. It was such I don't like admitting it, Jordo, because it was it really was a rookie mistake. It was not something a veteran would do, and I like to consider myself a veteran in these events, but it was just stupid. I wasn't thinking, I kind of thought I was made of steel. Nothing could hurt me. But so I have those terrible meals, and then I wake up and I actually have a little bit of breakfast. I have, some scrambled eggs and some bacon or whatever. And then I get on the mountain, and I'm hot. I'm dehydrated. It's kind of towards the end of the day, Jordo. I'm actually in this. I'm sitting with Gabby and Statter and my brother, and they're actually sitting in the shack with a bunch of randoms. On the side of the hill, they have those kind of deserted gondolas. It's like an old deserted gondola, and people sit in those. They find them off the track. Like you ski into the woods, and then you sit on them, and people smoke joints in them or whatever, drink beers. And we were there, and I was like, oh shit, like I kind of got to poop. I gotta go. Like I'm sweating, I'm dehydrated. I just had a bunch of fried food, some beers. I mean, everything was just adding up. So I'm like, fuck boys, I gotta go. Like, I don't know if I might not make it down the hill. Well, I make it down the hill. And obviously once I make it down the hill, I'm at the bottom, I'm with Gabby, and I'm like, yeah, of course, once I get to down to the bottom, like I don't have to go anymore. Like I feel fine. So
yeah, you're good.
Yeah, so I'm like, well, I might as well go for one more run and then, call it a day. So we go up and we get to the top, and I immediately, we start going down, and I'm like, I pull over probably like 30 seconds after I get off the lift, and I'm like, Gabby, I gotta go to the bathroom bad. Like I'm going in the woods. I'm going in the woods.
It's such a bad feeling too. It's such a helpless feeling.
No, it was like
no one else understands.
No, you don't understand. And I was like, no. Like I'm going in. I might have poop in my pants right now, because I was like, I was like kind of letting out that gas, like trying to let it out. But you could, if like you let out too much, like it's all coming out.
Yeah,
so
you can't trust that part.
No, you can't. You're not trusting it. So I was like, okay, like I got to let a little out to get, relieve some pressure in here. But anyways, I ski into the woods. I mean, not even 5 feet. I mean, people are there's a crowd. I mean, there's people skiing right next to me the whole time. But anyways, I get my skis off and I gear down, and I mean, my thighs are already kind of cramping up because I'm dehydrated. I'm tired from the whole day of skiing. And now I pull down my pants and I just, wall sit against a tree. I'm doing a wall sit in the woods against the tree. I mean, people are fucking skiing by, and I'm not kidding. I mean, it's not just coming out, Jordo. It's an explosion. I mean, it's like,
oh yeah.
It was like, I mean, it felt unbelievable.
That's running down your leg. That's just a goddamn volcano.
It was bad. It was insane, and it kept coming out. It kept coming for like, I don't even know how long, probably 3 minutes, like doing a wall sit. So towards the end of it, like I'm like, oh fuck, like finally it's all out. Like my left leg cramps up, so like I can't even like straighten it, and I'm like, oh god, I had just bought I had just bought a brand new like neck gator neck to like cover my neck and my face. So I had to take that off. I just bought it like maybe 6 hours earlier. I took it off. That's what I used a wipe with. Obviously yeah. And then I kick snow over it or whatever, use that. I get out. I'm like, holy shit, I feel like a new man. Start going down the hill. Left leg cramps up while I'm going down the hill. It won't even bend. It's straight now. It won't bend. So I'm like, holy fuck, I'm not going to be able to make it down this hill, man. I can't bend my leg. Like it actually won't bend. Like every time I bend it, you get, those cramp feelings. Like you actually can't move it.
You can't move it.
So yeah, I mean, I ended up making it down like with some breaks and I had a water bottle with me. So I was drinking some of that, but I ended up making it down. And yeah, man, I didn't know how my Saturday was going to go because that was the first day. And it's funny because I was telling everyone, everyone that I was going with, I was like, hey, like start training your legs to, get in condition because, skiing ain't easy. You got to train your legs.
It might lock you up.
Yeah, it might lock you up. So I'm like telling everyone, like, yeah, get your lifts in. No one did their lifts except me, Jordan. I fucking prepared for this trip. I went to the gym. I was doing that ski machine. Like I was getting the legs going. I was getting them ready. And here I am, the only goddamn guy who had his legs cramp up. So I'm like, God, I look like a fucking idiot now. I don't even know if I'm going to ski Saturday because like my legs are cramping up right now. I'm having beers in the hot tub, not making anything better. I'm sitting in the hot tub getting more dehydrated, like how's my day going to look Saturday? But, man, the mountain dominated me Friday, but I fucking came back and I went toe to toe with the mountain. I got it, man. I nailed Saturday. I fucking skied unbelievable. Never slowed down, went through the woods, carved up a couple black diamonds. Now, mind you, it was obviously easy. There's a lot of snow out there. So it wasn't normal skiing, but, yeah, I was happy I got to bounce back, but that was an insane Friday for me.
Yeah, I mean, you always get the bounce back too, especially when you're in a nice, crispy butter golf jersey. Actually, the one I'm wearing right now, you had on the hill. So I would appreciate you repping over there. You also had the All-Star Game jersey on. But when you sent me a snap of that shit, I mean, folks, that's one of those snaps you open up. You're like, Jesus, was that actually a moose? I mean, your nickname back in the day used to be Moose. I'm like, holy fuck. You're like, no, that was me. Chicken wings, burger, tater tots, and 10 beers. I go, holy fuck. Yeah, get it out, fellas. Get that out and get right back down, tips down, baby. Because that, I mean, at least it was like it sounded like, not to get in too much depth, but it sounded like it was a pretty clean exit from what I understand. Because you never know how that's going to go. I mean, that could be all over the place. And all of a sudden you got to go into the pro shop and just basically shed all your laundry, throw it away. You don't even want to wash it at that point if it gets all over the place. Fucking take it. I'll go head to toe with whatever I need in this pro shop, throw it on the Amex, throw it on the metal, and I'll get the fuck out of here because I can't wear whatever that happens. Looks like a goddamn crime scene. But at least you were able to get out of there with somewhat of a clean exit, Ozzy, from my understanding.
Yeah, it was lucky too because when I first pulled down my pants to finally relieve myself, I was actually expecting to find some already in there. So I was like, I'm fucked. Like I gotta take these ski boots off on the side of the mountain. I gotta take my pants off. I gotta change his underwear. Well, I was like, holy shit, there's nothing in there. All right, I kept it clean. I didn't know if I did. It was one of those times, like I said, I was letting out those farts. Don't even know if something came out or not. It kind of felt like something did, but nothing did.
Yep.
Yeah, it was lucky. It was lucky as hell. Nothing splashed on me or anything because I was worried about that. I mean, like I said, it was kind of going everywhere.
And I feel like girls don't have girls battle their own things, but I feel like this is more like a guy issue because I mean, I'm not trying to say like this happens a lot, but I had a similar situation this year where I went full Sandy Lyle in Along Came Polly as well, where I think I just sharded. I was actually in Hermosa Beach. I was in Manhattan Beach, Ozzy. It was probably like in October when I was going to LA doing some butter golf stuff, going to get some product lined up. this and that. And I always like to stay in and around the beach. So one night I went over to the Bottled Inn, which is right in Hermosa. It's a nice little Italian spot. Had a chicky parm, had a glass of wine, and I was going to walk back to the Holiday Inn, which was a little bit more inland. It's like if the Bottled Inn is right on the Strand, which is basically right at the pier, the Holiday Inn is probably 6 or 7 blocks, maybe 8 blocks, a little bit inland. And I would say it's probably about, give or take, almost a mile just right off of Pacific Coast Highway. So I start walking, nice little night, about 60 degrees out, have a sweatshirt on, have some, sweatpants on, just a casual little Tuesday. And all of a sudden, that same thing, I start feeling it. And I'm at the point where I'm in the middle of a residential area where there's not a gas station. There's no store. If I go back to the Bottled Inn, it's about as far as a walk as if I'm going to the Holiday Inn. And all of a sudden, I just had to, you get those hot sweats.
You don't have time. You felt
the same thing.
Yeah.
And it feels like you're going to like this flight or fight mode where all of a sudden your eyes get wide, your fucking face starts heating up, you're getting the chills down your back, the sweat comes in. I had to beeline it into somebody's bush, like these 8-foot shrubs. I would go back underneath it, and I just squat, and it was the goddamn Niagara Falls, similar to you. And I walk out of there, and it was messy. I'm not going to talk about it too much, but it was messy. It was to the point where I had to walk 4 blocks, and all I had on was my socks and a pair of boxers walking into the Holiday Inn. I had to leave my shirt. I had my sweatshirt over the top of my shoulder, just kind of because I'm sweating so bad. I'm using it as a towel. I have my boxers on. I had to leave my shorts. I had to leave my shirt. And all I had was my socks on because I didn't want to walk on the street with just, barefoot blue jean night. And I had my sweatshirt as my towel. And I'm walking in and people are looking at me in the neighborhood like, what is going on? It's one of those where you just have your hat down, your head buried. But I feel your pain, brother, because you never know when that's going to happen. It happens to me probably like once every Olympic year, once every 4 years. But it's a crazy, helpless feeling, my friend. So shitter's full, boys. So
yeah, that's it. You're right. Like you start sweating, and I was shaking actually. Like it was tough for me to get my skis off because I was shaking. Yeah, it's crazy how quick it hits you, and you don't feel like that's when you kind of understand, when dogs take shits and they start looking around, like they're like looking around like, fuck. That's kind of how you feel. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's not perfect. But anyways, folks, moving on from the Shitter's Full segment, I forgot to mention at the top of the show, we are brought to you always by Butter Golf in Mini Movers. Butter Golf, the official lifestyle and apparel brand over here at Live and 5. Obviously, Mini Movers is the official moving company of Live and 5. Folks, like I always say, if you need your shit packed, if you know someone that's moving, if you're maybe your side piece is moving, maybe your parents are moving, maybe they're retiring and they're moving, say, to a place like Florida, maybe in Arizona, go get a free quote from the boys at Mini Movers. Contact Gage Ausmus or head over to minimovers.com. Again, those guys will give you a free quote today anywhere in the Midwest. That's right, Auzzo. Say if you're in Wisconsin, could we get a quote from you? Say if you're in Minnesota, anywhere, 100%. Right?
100%. Right? Anyone, anywhere. Yeah, anyone that needs to move. And Jordo, you mentioned Butter Golf. I saw you send some to Bucci there. He tweeted it out. That's a good following to have there, and he looked pretty good in it too. I like the Forks hat on him.
Yeah, he looked good. He's a guy, Bucci. He's a character. He's a beauty. He's like an old throwback beauty. He's got tattoos. You wouldn't think it. He's always doing 50 sets of curls, Dan Uggla style, 50 sets of 50. So Bucci looked crispy in that Forks hat. Again, they're sold out at the Sioux shop. So head over to butter.golf to check those Forks hats out, folks. I have a few of those left. They'll be re-upping again over at the Sioux shop. I just talked to Jason today. So that'll be crispy. Auzzo, Butter Golf is in the little bit of a reboot era in terms of we're going to be revamping our website here. It's going to be dialed in. New product hitting the shelves within the next month. Yeah. Photo shoots. Getting it going really crispy. So it's going to be legit. I cannot wait for it. These shirts that I came out with that taken me about 5 or 6 months to develop in terms of a performance tee. It's like an Aloe or a Lulu or kind of Viore spinoff, but I found like a really good fabric. It's all USA made. I think it's cool just because it's all USA made. It's going to have like a little bit of
you got to promote that. Promote that shit.
And it's going to come with like a little American flag on one of the sleeves, maybe on the inside. So I'm fired up for that because I think that's like big time. And it's really quality stuff. So I'm fired up about that, obviously. And then, have a bunch of NHL guys wearing it. I'm going to hopefully be doing a deal here with ASU Hockey. So big things to come here. So folks, go over to butter.golf. Check out what we got on the website right now. business has actually been booming in the last month since Austin Matthews and Willie Styles have been rocking it. So good there. Again, folks, Butternut Golf and Mini Movers, the official sponsors. Okay, let's get to the top of the hour over here. My weekend snap. Auzzo live show in St. Louis, Missouri. Obviously, a place I spent some time. I was drafted in the first round there. Not a big deal. But anyways, Friday night, we flew in, got on the tarmac of St. Louis Lambert, the snowman, a.k.a. Binner. Friend of the show came and picked us up. We went for dinner that night and then had the live show on Saturday. Went to the Blues game after that. But just backing it up to Friday, we went to this spot in town. It's actually a cool little spot. It's probably the best restaurant in town. It's like an Italian joint. They have some steaks. They have chicken. It's a really good spot. It's called Louie. Anyways, we were sitting there and we were having a dinner with Binner. It was just me and the Heat Daddy, and some of the wild guys were in there, and they were kind of walking out or whatever, and we were enjoying, a couple glasses of vino, had the whole spread on there. Obviously, the snowman, he's dusting off the Amex, so fella just order the whole menu times 2. And he still owes me for that week in Barcelona. So the tab is forever open in terms of our friendship, which is nice. I paid it forward years back. But anyways, those guys were walking out of the restaurant, and it was like Goligoski, it was Hartman, it was a couple other guys, I think Kaprizov, and maybe one other guy. But Hartsey kind of poked me on the back, and you said hi. And if you back it up to last year, remember that blocker that Hartman took from Binnington in front of the cage? They have a little bit of a rivalry. And I wanted to share this story because I think nowadays hockey is so tummy sticks, and guys are always like, maybe a kid born in 2000 right in there in that situation, they would adapt each other up, say, hey, bro, like, no problem. Like, oh, yeah, I love it. But these guys, Binner looks up and he sees Hartsey. Hartsey looks over, he sees Binnington. No words exchanged, just kind of give each other the stare, not even a head nod. Hartsey talked to me for about 3 or 4 minutes, and then he kind of went on his way. But I just love that old school rivalry of, hey, I'm not going to be buddy-buddy with you. We're playing you tomorrow night. Maybe if I see it in the offseason, it might be different. But I'm going tomorrow night. I know you're going to be right around my crease, right on my chin. You're going to be doing something probably dirty in the game, and we're probably going to have a little dust up. I just love that old school mentality of, hey, we're not friends right now, partner.
It's the best. Those two guys are old school competitive too. They're just they're competitors, and that's what they are. And yeah, it's tough to find those guys nowadays, but I do love that too. Like, you don't make friends with those guys. You're playing them tomorrow. Fuck them.
Yeah, it was. I just loved it. And even when I saw Hartsey after, we were kind of walking in and around their hotel to go meet up with a friend of the show, who I'm actually going to see tonight, Matt Harder, the head strength coach of the Minnesota Wild. So I'm going to go have dinner with Harts tonight. But I ran into Hartsey after that because we were going to pick up Harts and go for a drink. Just kind of after that dinner. Binner went home. Me and the Heat Daddy obviously extended the night. But I saw Hartsey after that, and he was just so funny, and we kind of just joked about that. But yeah, going to have dinner tonight with Hards. Auzzo live show in St. Louis. It was an absolute wrench fest in terms of dudes, but what a turnout. That city. It's just so nice being back in the Midwest. You kind of get, for better or worse, me living down in the desert, you get a little soft. You really do. The sun's out every day.
That's what it does to you.
Every day is nice. You're walking around. You see these girls with fake sets. Everyone's got good looking. There's blondes. Now you get in the Midwest. People are a little huskier. It's a beer drinking town. It's more nail guns. The chins are tucked. The fight straps are on. There's a lot of dudes out there. Not everyone is as good looking. They're a little greasier. And that's kind of what we are anyways, really. I mean, I think, being Midwest guys, me being from Wisconsin, you being from East Grand Forks, like, that's just something I miss. And I was trying to explain that to Gucci, even Binner, that he's lived there now for an extended period of time, of just, you kind of appreciate some of the shittiness a little bit. You're kind of in and around of just a beer drinking town, a fireball drinking town. They're drinking Jaeger. Like, Auzzo, during that show, I kept it pretty good on the screws in terms of people buying the shots and whatnot. There was probably about 100 odd people there, which was pretty cool, especially a matinee. We were able to have that Jamie Rivers on, who is the color commentator of the Blues, and a couple other guys joined us. So he was a great guest. He stopped by before he had to go over to the Enterprise Center. But man, you just forget like how drunk people get in the Midwest versus like out here, because
it's the best.
We did a show at 2 p.m. People were at the Wheelhouse pre-gaming it for brunch at 9:30 when they opened. Like, they were doing doses and mimosas, champagne and cocaine. They were throwing both ways. But every guy that came up to us, like, remember Marshy, obviously, who did.
Oh yeah, Marshy wanted. He sent me a message. He's like, "You coming down? It's gonna be unreal."
Yeah.
Like, fuck, I wish I was gonna see you, man.
Yeah, what a beauty he was. He came up and we did a little bit of a flip cup game where we played the Heat Daddy and this guy that looked like Dukes from Semi-Pro. Dukes is excited. Looks like a little something else is homegrown. Like
looks like he's on a little something homegrown.
Yeah, looks like he's on a little something homegrown. Dukes, what do you do for a living? Nothing right now, man. Oh, staying home, laying low. But yeah, so we played these guys, me and Marshy Marsh versus the Heat Daddy and Dukes, as I was calling them at the show. People are loving that. And yeah, we dusted them up. UND connection, obviously. You got to be able to play a game of flip cup. But it was good seeing him. But anyways, back to what I was kind of jumping back to before was he got there, him and his buddies got there at like 9:30 a.m. I mean, when I walked in there at about probably 12:30 for a 2 o'clock show, I mean, he was just absolutely cocked like a Fernando Rodney hat. I mean, those guys are just, they were asking me every 2 minutes if I wanted a shot. I haven't been that drunk, Ozzy, at a hockey game. Now, I don't watch a ton of hockey games. I guess in the last year or so I have at Mullet Arena. But when you're at a game and you have to cut yourself off, the game was at 5 p.m. I didn't have a drink at the game because I was so cocked. Like, you're just sitting there, like there's something going on in front of you, but you're just kind of like, you're basically in your own head just trying to wonder, like, when am I going to snap out of this fog? Because right now I'm 13 out of 10 drunk. And if I have one more, they might need to stretcher me out of here and or wheelchair me out of here because I can't even see straight. And I don't know how I'm going to make it to the after party, which we're obligated to go to at 11 o'clock, even though we still have a dinner in between that. Like, I don't even think an Irish coffee, a fucking
nothing could do the trick.
Anything could do it. No, nothing. No. I mean, it would be just like you're sitting there like, holy fuck.
That's that's unreal. No, I saw that. Shout out Brennan Keller too. I know he's a big fan of Jordo and Butter Golf, and I went on a podcast of theirs. Andrew Marsh, all those guys in St. Louis are beauties. They're Midwesterners, and yeah, I mean that's unreal, Jordo. Like when you're going to these shows now, I forget what is this? That was number 4 or 5 now for you guys.
Something like that. Yeah.
I gotta ask, like, do you go in with kind of like a plan? Like, are you guys kind of coming up with new things? Do you have like kind of a set you do at every show, kind of almost like a comedian has his, go to, or are you guys kind of mix and matching things? I saw the picture of all the boys there. I know it's a wrench fest, but fuck, it looks like a great time. Like those guys are loving it. Everyone's probably laughing. I'm jealous I wasn't at that one.
Yeah, so I think it is like a comedic bit a little bit in terms of what we open up with. And I think that has to tailor to every city where you kind of get boots on the ground, you get little tidbits, maybe the night before, maybe a couple days before. Me and the Heat Daddy always like to sit down a couple days before, kind of plan out what we're going to do in terms of our opening monologue, what we're going to say. You kind of have things written out, but it never really goes as planned, right? You have things you're written out. You probably have go-to jokes as well in terms of maybe something you kind of recycle in terms of you've used maybe in Calgary or New York City. But I think we really like to tailor our jokes similar to comedians to the city. What is funny? What can you read the crowd, or can you pick someone out and kind of, do some crowd work? Maybe you turn to something that just kind of relates to the team as well. Are they struggling right now? Do they have some trouble? Did someone get caught doing something? Just different things where you can kind of work in to that probably 10 to 15 minute monologue in terms of that's when we're really just firing back and forth of, okay, this is like our comedy show right now. And then usually from there, we like to bring on the guests when that kind of runs dry, similar to what we did in North Dakota, Auzzo, where we brought up Herkus. Then we're like, okay, we're going to go to Jamie Rivers. So we go to Jamie Rivers. We interview him a little bit. We ask him some Brett Hall stories when he was playing with him back in the day. Talk about East St. Louis a little bit, the strip clubs, getting your touch over there at the penthouse, a little rub, a little tug, and then walking out of there trying not to get shot. And then go to some fan engagement where it's a game of flip cup, it's a chug off, maybe something for a T-shirt or some little thing exactly like we did in North Dakota at Joe Black's. And then we kind of break it down, play some music, come back. We'll talk a little bit about the game. That's where I kind of get into things around the league in terms of what I think. The Heat Daddy will ask me some questions. For instance, this show, he asked me some my playing days. I'm like, well, fuck. I mean, I spent more time at Wheelhouse than I did at the ice, right? Like I would just be begging. Like I used to at Wheelhouse back in the day when I was a Black Ace, when they would be on the road, me and Binner and a couple other guys, we used to go up top. They call it Life Up Top. It's like their bottle service, which is hilarious. But there's like this wristband area where you basically sit on a booth that doesn't have any cushions on it. It's like a tin can you sit on, and they have TVs up there. So we used to go there, and especially on weekend games. I specifically remember they played Saturday, Monday game, but the Saturday game in Dallas was like at 2:00. So we ended up doing mimosas and brunch up there as Black Aces, watching the boys take on the Dallas Stars. I mean, I remember just like we did that 3 or 4 times. Every time they would be on the road, we go up there to Wheelhouse and watch the games as guys like technically 1 or 2 injuries away from being on the ice. But we'd be up at Wheelhouse crushing waffles, mimosas, Fireball, and we just walk out of there cocked, and we'd be so mad when they'd win too, because as an ace, you're like, "Fuck, you
Get
want
me
them
home
to lose
for summer." Oh yeah,
exactly.
100%.
And at some point, it always turns for the aces, where it's like, okay, if you win 2 rounds, you get to the
now you're like,
final.
we're in this,
right? Yeah. Now it's like, but at the same time, you're not playing at all, so you're like, I don't really feel a part of the team. But you're up there, you're cheering for the Stars. You're ordering like green tea shots or a green goblin shot just for the Stars. You're like, fuck me, come on. It's a weird feeling being that ace. But anyways, yeah, I think just back in the day, like I spent so much time at Wheelhouse because I was never fucking playing. I would be there any chance I would get, and that was always our spot. So I was almost having like deja vu when I was there. Now that's what I was kind of talking to the fans about, different things like that, and just kind of old stories of, we used to have like a skateboard gang back in the day, as hilarious as that sounds, and it was similar to what we were doing in Minneapolis. I kind of brought that to St. Louis, where it was like Fabry and Eddie back in the day. They lived about 2 miles away in this area called the Central West End from the Enterprise Center, and we used to all store our longboards at their place, and we would just either get drunk or hang out, and we would get on the longboards and we would longboard every day to like a different restaurant, have a couple beers, longboard home, or even go to like a Smoothie King. It brought back a ton of memories. It was just so funny in terms of, hanging out with the fellas and this and that. So yeah, overall though, Ozzy, it was a really good show. I think it was a success. The Midwest is nails. They throw both ways. It was great to see the Snowman Bennington had dinner with him Friday and Saturday, and then he went home because they had to hit the road on Saturday night after the game on Sunday. So yeah, fella, it was a good time. And next up is Buffalo. That is on the 30th. So fired up for that. But Auzzo, before we get to our interview a little bit later, we forgot to mention Buster Stapleton is coming on the show, a veteran of over 100 National Hockey League games. Absolute beauty. I don't think you knew this guy too well, and I've met him a few times, but just touch on like what the people can expect from Buster, because he was hilarious, man.
Yeah, that guy's all time. I mean, he was just there to have a good time. He told us a few times, I mean, more than a few times, that he was one of the, I think, the first Filipino hockey player. He's also Irish, and he was just having a good time with that. It was hilarious. But he's got an unbelievable story, Jordo. I mean, he's he was 5'8". He didn't really expect to play anywhere, even in college, and he goes to Duluth. And it was funny, we asked him about Duluth, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I played there. Yeah, whatever." Like, he was just so nonchalant about everything. Yeah. Like, I played in the National, whatever. I just I signed in the KHL. I mean, the guy signed in the KHL, Jordo. Strictly, he could have played in the NHL, which most guys would stay over here in North America and play in the NHL, but he literally signed in the KHL to make more money, which is so nails. Like, yeah, just take the paycheck. He's like, yeah, they pay me more money, I'm going over there. Like, that's what he did. And I mean, he's just got such a cool story, and he's been to so many places. And I mean, he's got a story. I think he shares a story about the Russian gas that they all do to recover after games and stuff in KHL. It is an interesting interview, and hopefully I can run into that guy again. He's an absolute character.
He's hilarious, and he's a guy that, shout out to Luke Stoffaker, a guy that played at Duluth with him. He's a Madison guy. He's actually a guy that used to get trained by my dad and uncle over at Acceleration Madison. So that's the connection there with Buster. But it's so funny because he's like 5'7", and he looks Filipino, and he's a guy. When I was texting him before the show, I was like, "Hey, we're running a little late." He's like, "That's fine." I'm like, "I'm writing your intro right now. Obviously, the Chicago Bulls intro." He goes, "Did you get in there? I'm Irish." It's just like he wanted that so bad. But yeah, like you said, like
Illinois Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame.
Illinois Hall of Fame. Yeah. But the interview was hilarious. So I hope people enjoy that, because it just gets all over the rails. It's all over the place. I don't think he finished one story, but they all came together in the same time. So
yeah.
Folks, before we get to Buster Stapleton, Auzzo, speaking of a little bit of shit, the boys won the Penne Rosa championship up at UND. They swept Western Michigan on the weekend. Western Michigan, they were bragging a little bit. They were rolling into Grand Forks. GFK International in a Rolls-Royce jet. That thing looked minty, but weren't able to skate away with any points. And the boys up at UND are just rolling right now. Reese Gaber, Louis Jamernick, those guys, shout out to them. Just have the team absolutely clicking up there. Owen McLaughlin playing really well. Jackson Blake hitting the 50-point marker. But Auzzo, I wanted to ask you, those 2 years we won the Penne Rosa together, and I brought this. I'm going to take credit for this. I brought this from Green Bay. We did it at our time when Derek Lalone was our coach up there, now coaching for the Detroit Red Wings. But when you win the regular season championship, you throw that trophy in the shitter because it's not the one you want. So do you remember when we did that? We've told this story 100%. On here before, but remember we had that Penne Rosa trophy, the NCHC regular season, just sitting in the handicap shitter at the Ralph in our locker room for probably 5 odd weeks. You know, there'd be times
we had to. Yeah.
There'd be times where Hack would have to grab it, or Faison at the time, the athletic director, would have to come get it and showcase it to donors or people in and around the school or wherever it was. But that thing would always come back to the shitter. So how funny was that when we were just sitting there? If you had to go take a shit pre-practice, you're just looking at the Penne Rosa.
Yeah, it was so funny going in before practice, taking a shit, and the Penne Rosa sitting in there. Yeah, I mean, I love that we did that. You know, that's what it's all about. I mean, we were such cocks when you think about it, Jordo. I mean, we thought we were so nails, so cool, so good. Obviously, we kind of were. But yeah, I mean, I love that. And obviously, shout out to the boys. Jordo, the Penrose, I mean, I know it's the NCHC now. It's not the same as the WCHA and the old time WCHA, but this is, I mean, realistically, it's probably the hardest trophy to win in college. Like, it's actually the full season. You got to play well the entire season. It's a grind kind of getting through that season, especially in the NCHC. And maybe not all like the hardest trophy to win, but like you think about the national championship, it's literally, you got to win 4 games straight, and that's kind of it. And, you know, you can win or lose realistically any one of those games. The Penrose got to put together a full season. So I think it's an overlooked trophy that when a team wins the Penrose, it's like, hey, they put together a full fucking season and beat everyone else in the league. That's probably worth more than any other trophy, but it's obviously not looked at like that because you want to land on the top of the college hockey world and win the national championship. But yeah, I mean, throwing it in the shitter, and especially we used to throw it in the fucking trash after we'd win it and take it to the party. We would be sitting in the trash outside in the morning or something, you know?
Yeah, well, one time I think Uncle Rico, Colton Sanderson, just happened to find it. It was like in the middle of the road, or it was like out by the trash, and he had to carry it home from his 420 to his place, and that wasn't a short walk. But Ozzy, how many beers do you think that fit in that thing? I forget. We might have to ask the boys. Hopefully they filled that thing up a couple times. What was it again? Was it at least 6? Was it 7?
It was
a big cup.
It was a big mug. I mean, I think you could fit 10 in there. I mean, hopefully people don't look at this the wrong way and kind of take away the ability for the guys to have a party with this cup, because I doubt any of these teams are doing what we were doing. And it really, I think we're fabricating a little bit. It wasn't that bad. You know, we treated it with respect. We weren't like hitting baseballs with it or anything, but this was kind of more the inside joke. Like, hey, this isn't the fucking trophy we came for. And it was also just nails of us because it was just cool to be, you know, that cocky about your team.
Yeah, and I think the Stanley Cup has taken more damage than the Penrose Cup in terms of some of those stories of it ended up at the bottom of the pool at, you know, Mario Lemieux's house, or just different stories of crazy times. But that's what winners do. You party with it, you have fun with it. And I think even just going back to it in a little bit of a serious note, not to be like some cocky asshole, but even seeing that thing in the shitter every day, you're like, you know what? That is not the one we want.
Of course,
we want the national championship.
Yeah,
we're looking at this thing. It's a great little look, but hey, we're coming for more. And that was always the thing in Green Bay too. When we won the Anderson Cup, we had that thing in the shitter for about 2 months, and then we won the Clark Cup. And you know what we did? We put that thing right in the shitter too. You know,
so, yeah, you got it for the joke.
So I just think like teams that have swagger, man, teams that have fun, teams that party together, those are the teams that win. So, Ozzy, I just thought that was funny. Hopefully, the boys had a nice night with that.
Yeah, congrats to the boys. Those guys are deep, Jordo. They're deep, man. They got a deep team this year. Like, fuck, I mean, Jakey Schmaltz doesn't even have a goal. And, I mean, you watch those games, like, he's one of the better players on the team, like, in terms of, like, usefulness and adding to the team. So, they're deep, man. Hopefully they can do something in the tournament.
Yeah, hopefully you can get off the schneid. I tweeted last weekend before the weekend started, even texted him. I said, buddy, this is a weekend, you go get it. So I'm hoping it's soon. I haven't watched a ton lately, but I just told him shoot everything and go to the net because he's got great hands in terms of the way he can tip pucks and different things like that. So also told him to stay out there a little longer too. So Jakey, if you're listening, buddy, always extend those shifts. Go watch a guy like Nicky Schmaltz play. He doesn't get off until his lungs are literally dried, sucked, vacuum sealed shut, and then he's getting off the ice. And then he's changed on the back check too. So go watch that kid's game. Not a lot of guys play like that, but maybe somewhere in between that. So Auzzo, this just in, breaking news as we're recording here on Wednesday. NHL trade deadline. Obviously had the People's Insider and Dave Pignota from the fourth period on yesterday in terms of a trade deadline special from Live in 5, episode number 26.5. But this just in, wow, fella. Noah Hanifin to Vegas. That is Kelly McCrimmon from Plenty, Saskatchewan, the GM there in Vegas, making another big-time splash. Noah Hanifin to Vegas, my friend, and that comes with an extension. We are awaiting terms on that, but it is probably believed to be about an 8x8, maybe 8 years at $7 million. I don't know the official number yet because it hasn't been tweeted out, and we are recording now. But holy fuck, man, they get Noah Hanifin in there. Like, how does Kelly McCrimmon do this? He is a high flying gunslinger, baby. He's like Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite. He just chucks the rock, man.
How does he pull it off? There's such a heavy team now too. I mean, who wants to play them in the playoffs? I know the West is tough right now. You're right. Like, you got Vancouver, you still got the Avs. Dallas is right there. You've got McJesus and Draisaitl. Yeah, I don't know, man. But who's gonna be? They're so heavy.
Yeah, it's crazy because they go get Anthony Mantha yesterday. And then they just pulled this out of their ass in terms of no one was really thinking Hanifin was going to Vegas. Everyone thought he would be going to Tampa Bay, maybe Boston, some of these other teams. And I think Kelly McCrimmon probably saw earlier today, where Colorado went and got Sean Walker. They loaded up with a guy like Casey Middlestad. They got Bo Byram out of there in terms of Joe Sakic, trading him to Buffalo, getting Casey Middlestad center ice help down the middle to play that 2-hole. Ryan Johansson goes to Philly in a little bit of a 3-way deal that was orchestrated there. And Edmonton, I mean, they get Henrique and Carrick, so they beef up a little bit in terms of their middle six with getting a nice top 6 option that can play center or left wing. And Henrique, Carrick adding a lot of heaviness and or a little beef, Alberta beef, if you will, to that bottom 6. I really like his game. He plays heavy. He has snarl. He has jam. He's similar to a Noel Achari, but I think he moves better. So going back, though, to the West, I mean, if you're looking, just when you think Vegas might be sliding a little, Kelly McCrimmon does this. And if they can get Mark Stone somehow back from that spleen injury in time for round 1 or round 2, it's just hard to bet against that team, especially even with a team like Dallas, who was able to add, a couple pieces there. But it's like they got Tanev. Well, what does Vegas do? They go get Hanifin. And Hanifin's a great puck mover. He can play in that lineup as probably a number 4, which is crazy to say because they have Pietrangelo, they have Theodore, they have McNabb, they have Martinez, and now Hanifin.
Is he taking McNabb's spot? Yeah,
he's probably taking McNabb's spot, and McNabb's probably sliding to number 5. He's playing with White Cloud. How good of a bottom pairing is that? Like, those guys are insane.
God. Like, that's what I'm saying. And I mean, a decor in playoffs too, Jordo. I think I'm taking a better decor in playoffs than a deeper forward 100%. Core, I think.
Oh, 100%. And you parlay that decor, Ozzy, with Aiden Hill, who's an absolute gamer and a proven Stanley Cup champion that plays really well, and he's very athletic when he's healthy, and he is healthy right now. So say you send Pietrangelo and Martinez over the boards, and then you go Hanifin, and then you got a guy like, McNabb, Theodore. I mean, however way you want to play, it's just like, who's going to beat these guys, especially if they're healthy, and especially they still have a little bit of cap space, Auzzo. They could go get maybe another bottom 6 player. I mean, I don't know. It's just crazy to say. So we'll monitor that. Colorado has a guy like Sean Walker in the West. I think he's a decent player. Nick Seeler, his fellow teammate in Philadelphia, was signed today at 4 years times 2.7 AAV. So other names I'm looking at that haven't been off the board yet, we're still looking at Gensel, where he's going to end up. Now, we had Pignota on yesterday. Dave was saying he was here in either Vancouver or Vegas. Now, I think that's shifted a little bit in terms of he'll probably be maybe Vancouver, maybe Carolina, maybe a team like Florida. Now, Florida added Tarasenko, so I don't know if they can make that happen, but you never know what these teams are willing to do. A guy like that Wenberg from Seattle went over to New York with the Rangers. I don't love that move. One guy that I think, one guy or two guys that I really want to know where they're going once Gensel goes is, does a guy like Pavel Buchnevich get moved from St. Louis? I think he's a really good Russian winger, a really good scorer. Now, could Carolina peel him back if they don't get Gensel? Frank Vetrano as well over in Anaheim, a really good player, 30-goal guy that plays with a little jam. He's not making a ton of cash. So those are some names there. And then a couple more, not bottom feeders, but I would say a class down would be a guy like Anthony Duclair and Riley Smith. And I'm even hearing a guy like Jake DeBrusk name getting floated around. If Boston wanted to move a guy, he's a UFA at the end of the year, making just over 4, maybe 4 and a hook. So maybe they would be looking to add a center iceman. Could they go get someone? I'm not sure. That'll be interesting to see. So Auzzo, I just think like my favorite, I think, in the West before this move by Kelly McCrimmon just came in was probably Dallas. I mean, they had a nice mixy of the past, the present, and the future. They had guys like Jamie Benn, Joe Pavelski, Sagan, Suter, Duchesne. The present being Rope Hintz, this Robertson, even Miro Heiskanen, Ottinger, and then the future with Thomas Harley, this new kid Stankoven, that stanky.
Stankoven's been fucking nails recently, yeah.
Yeah, that sticky icky, that Afghan Kush stank, that weed you pull out of the jar and it smells up the whole goddamn kitchen. People from 3 doors down can smell it. So that stank has been playing good. I think he's got like 4 goals. And this Wyatt Johnson's a stud. So, yeah, man, I don't know. Like the West just seems like it's crazy right now.
It's so stacked, and that's kind of how it felt like the East was last year a little bit with all those teams, and the West came out and won. Vegas won, so we'll see. I mean, yeah, the East definitely seems a lot weaker this year. Like Florida's running away with it, I think, aren't they, on the East? And it's like,
I think so if they can stay healthy.
Do they have the team those other teams, those Western teams have? It doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, I just don't know. You worry about kind of the same thing if you're flip-flopping it like last year, like the West, where Vegas was able to get out kind of, with not many bruises, and then they get to Florida, who's an absolute wounded duck, and they clean them up in the final. So if Florida can minimize their games in terms of their series, the biggest key in playoffs, Auzzo, as you know, is not extending it to 7 games every series. If you can get out of these series in 5 or 6 games, you can get some more rest, you can be feeling good, get into that final, and now you're full tilt versus just kind of crawling into it. So I'm interested to see what the East does. Now, some of these names, like we mentioned, are still on the big board. I think some of these teams in the East are going to be looking, even a guy like Jake Chikrin now. I think teams are probably looking around and saying, holy fuck, Colorado's loading up. Vegas is loading up. Look what Edmonton's doing. I mean, Edmonton's still looking for another defenseman, a guy with some snarl. Is that Matt Dumba? Is that Joel Edmondson? A guy that can play with some fuck you back there. So even a team like Detroit, I mean, they haven't, they've kind of stood pat right now. Not a whole lot out of Stevie Y to date right now, sitting here on Wednesday. But yeah, man, I just think there's a lot of moving pieces still. It's a year that I think I even touched on yesterday where a lot of teams are looking for the same thing. They're looking for top 6 scoring, and they're looking for nasty defensemen. And I think this year more than ever, there's been that need for that type of player because every team is against the cap. And how can we make this work while we add pieces to our puzzle while staying under the cap? So that is something that is just going to be monitored over the next few days. Again, we dropped that insider segment yesterday, so go check that out, folks, if you haven't listened to it. But Auzzo, I wanted to ask you and just get your thoughts. The highest paid guy to ever play in the jungle, a couple guys that played in the minors over here. What the hell do you think this guy is thinking as he's loading the bone rattler, eating the soggy Subway sub, heading to fucking, I don't know where, Syracuse, New York on an 8-hour bone rattler? I saw a picture of Evgeny Kuznetsov leaving the Hershey Bears facility today with a pillow in hand. Hey, baby, this ain't first class. You might be doubling up too, fella. I don't know where you're going to be sitting on this bus, We got a lot of veterans. We got a lot of rookies. What do you think a guy like Evgeny Kuznetsov is thinking? And how does this help his mental health as a guy that was just in the program? It can't help, right? Like,
I don't know. Like, it's a hilarious, highest paid player ever in the American League. You know what? I tweeted out, now look at this guy. He was on the ice. He had a fucking big grin on his face. I mean, maybe this guy's so Russian he actually doesn't care. He doesn't really care about hockey, it seems. He's just happy to be getting paid fucking how many sheets? Like
7.8.
7.8 sheets a year. Like,
no escrow.
He's pretty excited about that. Like, yeah, he's pumped. So he's smiling out there, and I tweeted like, yeah, he's just happy to be on a first place team again because the Hershey Bears happen to be the best team in the American League this year. They're dominating, I'm pretty sure. Shout out Chase Prisky, a QPAC guy. He's a defenseman on the team, I think, and yeah, no, I was kind of send Twitter DMs back and forth with Prisky, and he sent me a little Kuzy GIF the other day, and it was hilarious. Like, how was that guy in the American League? Like, and he was dying laughing on the ice in practice. Like,
I know. I was going to say, is he
upper management can't be pumped about that. Like, they see the Hershey Bears tweeting out like, yeah, we're happy to have Kuzy on the team, and he's just fucking smiling in practice. Just
it didn't even look like he had. It didn't even look like he had shoulder pads on.
No, like that guy wasn't. I mean, he might have been 3 sheets to the wind. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's nuts because that guy he's one of the best players in the world if he actually tries and wants to be. So that's why it's just it's kind of a crazy story.
During that cup run in 2017-18 when they won it, before Ovi was swimming in the Lincoln Memorial puddle or whatever it is before out there in DC, he had 32 points in 22 games. Like, he was their best player in playoffs. Like, he's unbelievable.
It was unbelievable. Yeah, and, like, he was the best player. Yeah, in all of playoffs that year. Like, he's a gun. Yeah,
like he's when he wants to go, like you said. I mean, does $7.8 million buy an AHL team? Like, this guy could buy the team. Like, what is going on? Like it's crazy. Like, what does an AHL team cost? You think? Like, what's that MSRP in that? Because the Hershey Bears is one of the more storied franchises. But like,
I think Hershey might make money, so they might be worth a little more. I honestly don't know. I wouldn't know what to put a number on it. But some of these American League teams, how are they even worth that much? I mean, they might be worth nothing. Like, some of them, I can imagine, don't make money if they don't get fans, and I don't think all of them get great fans. So, like, where are they getting money? It's just the NHL team kind of funding their salaries because they're all on deals.
Right. Yeah, and Hershey actually makes money, I think, because that's like one of the more storied places, chocolate town there. They got great fans.
Are they still independent? Like, are they owned by the NHL team, or are they one of the only teams that isn't?
Yeah, I think they're still independent. I think they're just kind of a partner with Washington. I mean, they've been there forever. They've been there since like the Reggie Dunlop Federal League days. Like, that team's been there forever. But I just can't imagine Kuzy checking in to the Best Western in Syracuse, and he's going over to Outback Steakhouse. Like, fellas, you're not at Tao in New York City anymore, Like, he's going to be walking in there. It's going to be pretty funny, but AHL days, I mean, it's not as bad as it used to be, so he'll be all right. Auzzo, another shout out, a couple clicks I wanted to give. They honored him at the game last night at the iconic Mullet Arena. Was head equipment manager of the Arizona Coyotes, Stan Wilson, Cowboy from, I believe, Saskatchewan. He worked his 25. He's worked his 2,500 games, so 2,500 games in the National Hockey League. That is over 30 years in the National. That is insane. I mean, how many nights is that just hanging up sweaty jocks? I mean, like that 30 years in the National, 2,500 games. That is crazy.
It's nuts. You gotta love it. You gotta love the locker room, the boys, hockey. Yeah, it's insane.
That's crazy. And I mean, I just wanted to give him a shout out. I mean, hopefully the boys got him a nice gift. Over 30 years in the National Hockey League game. I mean, I did the math. It was 2,500 divided by 82 games. It was like 30.5 years. So it's just crazy. He's been like a Shane Doan whisperer for his time. He started in Winnipeg with Donor, came down to AZ. So he's been with the organization that much time. So pretty crazy. And just wanted to give him a couple clicks and some love. You got to love those guys. They're not doing it for the paycheck. So Auzzo going over to the Felt, going east, going to the Sunshine State. The Sunshine State, a place for a sunny place for some shady people. We have the Arnold Palmer Classic this weekend at Bay Hill. It's a $20 million purse. And I mean, just how good is an Arnold Palmer, man? I mean, I know the guy he rest his soul.
It's the best.
He's dead now, right, Arnie? He's still alive.
Is he? I think he's
know.
dead. I think he died. I think he died like a year ago or something. I'll look that up right now.
Yeah, I think he's dead. But anyways, how good is an Arnie? A little half and half fella, a little hybrid. Sprinkle some vodka in there. Make it a double. Bartender, make it even a triple, because that's what I'm going to start off with on hole one. It's probably going to be a 7 for 6. So just touch on this weekend. It's a great purse. It's a great field. We got some odds here. Auzzo, if you're a betting man, I just want to read a few off to you. We got Scotty Scheffler being the favorite at plus 600. Rory plus 850. Sticky Vicky Hovland coming in at plus 1,200. Xander Schauffele plus 400. Fairway Jesus Tommy Fleetbutter, that is Tommy Fleetwood, the Irishman, plus 2,800. Keegan Bradley plus 8,000. Cam Stung plus 3,300. So if you're looking at this field and you want to sprinkle a little something, those aren't all the odds, but I just thought those were some of them that caught my eye. In particular, I think he's playing like dog shit this year, but Keegan Bradley, he's a guy that's just rides waves, man. He gets so hot. He gets so cold. Yeah. Plus 8,000. I might take a shot in the dark at that and throw, just a little sprinkle on it, $50, $100, something that would, if it hits, it would, you might be able to buy a used Kia with it, He could pull it off too. I kind of like betting Will Zalatoris, especially coming off an injury. I think I think he was playing really well last year. He got injured. I think this guy is going to be one of the best ones, and he's going to have good odds. I didn't know if you read them off. I don't know what his odds are, but I would put money on. I like betting on Willie Z. He's a fun guy to cheer for too. I don't know why. Well, he's a guy that he throws absolute darts. He can make a ton of birdies, but he can't putt. Remember, he always gets the yips.
Yeah, he always gets scared. It's like Scotty Scheffler. Like Scotty Scheffler would be Tiger Woods if he could putt, but he's always like last. He's bottom like 5% in every tournament in putting. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, Willie Zalatoris kind of putts like our boy. Shout out to John Simonson. Like he gets like that little run around Sue going. Like he gets to the ball and all of a sudden it's like he does like a little bit of a windmill circle. It's like, fella, just whack the nugget, just go through with it. Maybe even go to one hand, or maybe even go to some sort of belly putter and just tap it in. Give it a little tap. But yeah, he's a guy that like he really struggles on the greens, but he can get so hot because he throws absolute darts. So I don't mind that pick. I just think a guy like Rory at plus 850, that's not a bad bet. I even think Fairway Jesus, Tommy Fleetbutter at plus 2,800. I don't think he's ever won a PGA event, as crazy as that sounds. He's always that.
I've seen that. I saw that stat. How is that real?
I don't know. I don't know how that's a real stat, because he's like, in terms of his, top tens, he's a Ryder Cup guy. Like he's always in and around, the winner or the final day. He just can't close. I mean, he's one of those guys at the bar. It's 2 a.m. He's got the girl on her string, and all of a sudden the Uber's there. She goes one way, he goes the other. You got to be able to close. You got to have a little Fernando Rodney in you. So hopefully he can maybe get it done this weekend at Bay Hill. Cam Young, another guy, plus 3,300. Like pretty good player from upstate New York. Cammy Stung. I like his game.
Yeah, he is.
He's got a funny sponsorship too. He's sponsored by the MLB, I believe, or at least he used to be. So that's just a hilarious. Like he's wearing
got the logo on his
jersey. He's like an umpire, right? He's got the polo with the the MLB logo. So yeah, Auzzo, I think this should be a good week. I just think, man, you just miss the live guys, especially in a week like this, leading into the players. It just, I don't know. I'm still not over it. But back to Arnold Palmer. I mean, Auzzo, this was a guy who was just an absolute buttery, silky smooth swing. Remember, he used to fly his own planes. Like he'd fly his own bird. Like he'd be rolling up to a tournament. He'd be flying his own. He's got his own 10-seater. It's like, holy shit, this guy fucks.
He's just a pilot wheeling in. Oh yeah, it's so nails.
Unbelievable. But Auzzo staying in the same state, just going a little bit to the south, a little bit to the east, over to the 305, the city that doesn't sleep and throws everything up their nose, lefts, rights, hookers. We're talking missionary, baby. We got UFC 299 over there in Miami this weekend. Throw first, ask questions later in the Octagon. I don't know a ton about UFC, but I talked to a friend of the show in one of our better episodes who is a UFC insider. That is Jason Demers. this week, and I wanted to get his takes, and I wanted to get your takes in terms of one of my favorite guys is fighting this week, and that's local Arizona product, Sugar Shane Oferta. That is Shane O'Malley. Sugar Shane is going off the box against Marlon Cheeto Verda. That fight, Auzzo, minus 280 for Sugar Shane. Obviously, Vera is plus 230. So that is the Bantam weight title. What are you looking at in terms of that fight? Are you going to be watching? I think it's on Saturday. Is it correct? On Saturday?
Yep, it's on Saturday.
What are you looking at in terms of that fight? Like, where's your money? I mean, I'm talking to JD. He was just saying, like, that's a little steep for Sugar Shane. Like, he might be leaning the other way. He might sprinkle the other side in terms of Cheeto, in terms of maybe going with him. So what are you thinking for that tilt, fella?
Like I said, I think Sean O'Malley's only loss is to Cheeto Vera or Marlon Vera. I call him Cheeto Vera. But he lost because he broke his leg. And the Sugas rise, Jordo. I've watched UFC. Like, I used to be a huge Conor McGregor guy. I got some shirts of his. I used to have some shorts that had his face on it. It was hilarious. So I've enjoyed the UFC, and I think Suga is like the closest you can get to Conor McGregor. Like, no one will be Conor McGregor, but Suga's kind of that guy who I've kind of attached to since Conor McGregor's kind of stepped away from fighting. So I'm never not going to bet on Sugar Sean, and it's been fun fighting. It's been fun cheering for him because no one really thought he'd make it this far. Like, he made it through some tough dudes that they didn't think he would beat. So I'm going to bet on Sean O'Malley for sure. And then you got Dustin Poirier fighting Benoit St. Denis. I don't know how you say it, but
yep.
That's another unbelievable fight because Dustin the Diamond, I mean, that guy is nails. He beat up McGregor. He's tough. Like, he throws. He has fun fights. Like, always fun to watch. He's always chucking them. But this St. Denis guy, I think he's favored. So I would actually go the Diamond on that one again. I don't think the Diamond is completely done. I don't know if he's on the come up. He's not going to get any better than he is, but I think he'll beat this guy.
Really?
And that's plus money. So yeah, I just
plus 190.
Yeah. So I'll go with that one. And then, I mean, Gilbert Burns and Petr Yan are fighting as well, and those two guys have huge names. I don't know who the guys they're fighting actually, but you never know in those fights. Like, the big names that are kind of on the down slope, and then you got the newcomers. So those are fun to watch though, because all those guys are they put on fun fights. Like, you know how they're gonna fight. They're all chucking them. Like, it's fun to watch.
100%. And I just think that Dustin Poirier, the Neil Diamond, that guy, like, he's just got a face like a catcher's mitt in terms of just leather skin.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's a guy similar, not quite to the level yet as a Donald Cowboy Cerrone, where if you give him a call, no matter where he is in the world, no matter how much he's trained, he's going to be there. You know, he's going to show up. He's going to collect his 400K. One thing, Auzzo, just going to the UFC is, how do these guys not get paid more? I mean, the way the UFC is going, the way it's structured, couldn't you give them a little bit more scratch in terms of, maybe you said you did, I know they do like the fight of the night or the knockout, like they give them a little bit more money. So there are some incentives, but those prizes for even those prop bets are like peanuts for them. It's like 20 to 50K. It's like, bro, for the fight of the night in the UFC, like, give them fucking $1 million. Like, Dana White, you're a billionaire, and this enterprise is only skyrocketing too. I just think the way that those guys get paid versus boxers, even still to this day, where the popularity has shifted so much, it's like, can't we give them a little bit more scratch? If you're going into, a title fight and you're the guy that's not technically the headliner, I mean, you could only be walking away with like 300K. It's like, dude, this guy's putting his life on the line. Like, I know he's getting sponsorship money, and that, but like, it should be at least 7 figures, no?
Yeah, I mean, I would think they'll eventually go that way. I know it differs from other sports, especially boxing, because I think they pay all the fighters, and there's a lot of fighters on the card or in the UFC, and they pay all of them like pretty well for all of their fights, which is different from boxing. Like, some of those, to make money boxing, you got to be like top dog making
Right,
the
the
pay-per-view
guy.
money.
Yep.
Yeah, like you got to be in the final fight, the championship fight. But I think they disperse it, and it's a little like the NHL that way, Jordo. Like I think the NHL pays its minor leaguers or like even
Yep.
the lower end guys like pretty well compared to other leagues, like the NFL or like so they disperse the money a little bit. And I think that's the reason. But yeah, you would think they're going to start paying these guys more because I mean, you see how much it's worth. It's worth like a couple billion or whatever. Like you think they could pay them more, but I guess they do have those arguments. Like, I mean, these guys are only fighting like 3 times a year and they're getting paid, $1 million. It's like you're in the ring 3 times a year and you get like $1 million or even more if you're you're getting some pay-per-view money. And then, yeah, obviously people say like you can, sell things and you have a brand once you're in the UFC, so you can make money that way. But you'd think it'll go up eventually. I would think if they form like a union, or I don't think they have like a fighters union or anything.
Yeah, and that's one event that we need to get to in terms of one of these years. We got to
100%.
go to a nasty card. Have you ever been to
Yeah.
a UFC fight?
No.
I've never been, and I've heard there's nothing like it. Like the sound, just
Yeah.
the smack of a guy's chin taking a elbow or a knee or a flying fucking kick. Like that is one thing I want to go to. And one guy, my favorite fighter that I've gotten into UFC over the last couple of years is that style blender guy, Adesanya. I mean, that guy,
Oh yeah.
how cocky he is, the way he
So
walks
sick.
in, his jumpers, his off the octagon swag. I mean, that guy is just everything I'd want to be if I was a nail gun. And I'm a huge pussy sitting here in a cutoff, but if I was a nail gun, I would have liked to be like Adesanya. So great event this weekend. I will be tuning in, Auzzo. Going over to one hitters with the captain. Starting at the top, one of the only hockey-related questions in terms of National Hockey League questions I have for you this week. Who is your favorite to win the cup, brother?
I mean, at this point, once I've seen the trades, God, I almost want to go up.
Right, we're sitting here on Wednesday, so it's a little tough because this is going to come out Friday, and people are going to be like, oh, my God, you didn't see that trade? It's like, buddy,
Yeah,
this is Wednesday. So this is Wednesday, folks, right around 5 o'clock Mountain Standard.
Actually, I think the West is going to get beat up. I'm going to go the Panthers. I think they do it this year.
I love that pick. Shout out to the Panthers. My boy Chubsy, the assistant GM there, actually the head general manager of the USA hockey team heading over to World. So shout out to Chubsy. Hope those boys get it done. They're looking pretty good, especially adding a couple pieces there. Auzzo, I had a question that come through my DMs, and I wanted to ask you. Let's go. He's from Winnipeg. Let's just call him Ricky from Winnipeg. He wrote, I am planning a guy's trip, and I wanted to ask you, Swish, what is a better city to bend in, Nashville or Vegas? And this is, I'm thinking like all inclusive, right, Auzzo? The prices, not everyone has a scratch.
Everything involved.
Everything included. So as a veteran, as a captain, what are you telling Ricky from Winnipeg?
I mean, I'm going to stereotype a little bit. He's from Winnipeg. I don't know how much dough he has. I'm going to suggest Nashville. I think you can have just as good of a time in Nashville. Now, I think the only way I'm choosing Vegas is like if I think Nashville plays more often than Vegas. Like Vegas is a certain mindset and you got to fucking bring out the wallet and you're dropping a lot of money versus Nashville. It's not cheap, but it's more doable. And I mean, Nashville is as crazy as it gets, man. They're partying more honestly in Nashville than they are in Vegas, I think.
100%. And my only thing was the direct bird, because there's probably a direct bird from Las Vegas to Las Vegas versus you might have to do a little bit of a connector going into Minneapolis from Winnipeg. But yeah, I 100% agree. I think if you're going in bank for your buck, I would do Nashville over Vegas. Auzzo, third question. I want to really hear your thoughts on this one. Where would you like to see the Frozen Four go? Only cities it hasn't been. So you can't pick a previous destination. It has to be a city the Frozen Four has not been. Where would you like to see the boys lace it up in college hockey for the final four teams?
Has it been in Vegas?
Nope, has not.
That's where I'd go.
That would be unbelielievable. How sick would
sell
that be?
Verizon Center or T-Mobile, sorry.
Yep.
T-Mobile, it would fucking sell that place out for sure, and they'd all be, it'd be insane.
It would be crazy. I like that pick. Can't go wrong. Auzzo, fourth question. One school that doesn't have college hockey right now, what is your number one choice where you'd like to see a program added?
Good question. God. I mean,
Is it adding a team to the Big Ten? Is it a
yeah,
Southern team, an SEC team? Is it somewhere out west, kind of going on the ASU mold where it'd be USC or UCLA?
I was thinking maybe like a Colorado Boulder or an Arizona, not Arizona
Yeah.
State, but Arizona. So you got
Yeah.
two teams kind of right next to each other where it's getting a little bigger. I mean, Arizona's obviously seen that ASU can be successful. You know, I think they've gotten pretty decent fans. They've got a nice rink there. So why not put a team right there and then compete in the NCHC? You got two teams right there. Then it makes it worth it for maybe teams go down there and they play one, you know, and one there and one the other. I don't know.
No, I really like that. And just being in Tucson that year, their club team draws really well. Like a lot of kids go to those games.
Yeah.
And I think you would need a new arena because the Tucson Convention Center, the TCC, isn't perfect. But again, just like ASU, if you build, they will come. And they have this mullet arena now. So if you did something similar to that at Arizona, I really like that pick. And I also really like the Colorado Boulder, because why not add another school to in the Colorado area? You have Denver, you'd have CC. I think Boulder, kids would go there over CC, and that's no disrespect. I think that's just a cooler campus
For
and
sure.
a cooler spot, and it's just outside of Denver.
Yeah, I mean, you get a nice little rink in Boulder. Now you got Dion there. They've got a little buzz going. I know that probably won't last forever, but I mean, I've heard Boulder's a fun school to go to, and that'll attract kids for sure. And I think, you know, students like going to these games. Look at Penn State. Like, they all fill that place because it's crazy. It's a fun atmosphere.
100%. I like that. Auzzo, last question with one hitters with the captain. Favorite bar in the greater Minneapolis area? So if you're saying, hey, buddy, you're coming in my city that I live in now, where are you sending someone, your local watering hole there? You're thinking in your head, like, this is my spot. Reminds me a little of a bit of Forks, or this is a spot I like to come and get off the grid and, you know, have a few Dave Tippett the bottle back.
Yeah. God, that's a good question. I mean, if I was asked where someone wants to go, I would ask them, you know, what they're looking for. But if they're strictly just looking to get pickled.
Yeah, you're taking them there. You're taking them there to get pickled. This is my spot, buddy. Lace up.
Yeah, we're just having a good time. I mean, it's just us fucking going toe to toe, you know, hammering drinks. I would probably go Bunnies, honestly, in Edina.
Yep.
I'd bring them right there. Maybe find a booth, and just go toe to toe. You know, watching sports, probably just fucking talking.
Get the popcorn.
Yeah,
yeah.
If I was looking to go out and close it down, probably Smack Shack right now.
Okay, yeah. Get the DJ going in there. A little high top. How are you? Tequila soda.
Big wheel. Yeah, you might get an espresso martini at one point.
Yeah. Do they make an Irish there?
Yeah, I think they would. I've never gotten one though.
Okay.
I usually always drink them before I get there.
I want to get a little off the screws here. We were sitting at dinner the other night with Binnington, and he was getting like genuinely concerned about my Irish intake, and I probably had I had 2 at the Wheelhouse before the show, and then I had about 3 at dinner, and then at Wheelhouse we went back there, and they were bringing me my own custom mug, and I had my Franklin glove on, and the girl was bringing me. At that time, it's all like, you know, just glasses, or it's like a plastic cup, but she was, without even saying it, was going downstairs and bringing me my own mug. So I had a mug at Wheelhouse, life up top, and I had another 2 Irish coffees. So I was all in for 6 or 7 that day. Is that too many? But I'm thinking, like, people are having espresso martinis, 5 or 6 of them, and those are more caffeine than a coffee. So I'm like, I don't know. I mean, is it bad for my ticker? Maybe not perfect, but it's way better than doing the alternative and going with the snow. I'm not a snow guy. I need an upper. I'm all natural. So it's caffeine or bust.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's too many. I mean, they're making those things stiff, so you're probably hammered. Like, I've had 6 in a night for sure. I mean, easily, because once you start drinking them and you get a little drunk, I mean, you can't stop drinking them because they taste so good. Especially if you've got them being served to you. So yeah, no, I don't think that's too many. I mean, maybe when we're like 50 years old, maybe watch that intake. But I think right now, I think we should be fine.
Okay. Yeah. I just wanted to run that by you because he was like, had me questioning myself there sitting on a Sunday, a little stung. And he's like, man, like, I don't know what you're doing. I'm like, well, just fuck you. Like, shut up. Not you. Yeah. You're going to be a dad soon. Shut up.
Was he?
Like,
Was he making you a little anxious?
yeah. I was like, just get
Yeah.
bent, man. You know, play your own game. I'll play up the wall. You play your game, JB. So that was funny. Auzzo, my Celly of the week. I had a guy out of Cleveland right on the hardwood center court at halftime. It was a little bit of a show they did at the Cleveland Cavaliers game that is at the Quicken Payday Loans Arena right in the jaw of downtown Cleveland. One of my favorite cities. Got the Jack Casino there. Just an unbelievable city. They have a couple other bars that I love. Anyways, going into the Quicken Payday Loans Arena, Joey Chestnut, I don't know if you caught this, my favorite athlete of all time, Joseph Chestnut, challenged 3 guys in a 3-on-1 pierogi eating competition.
Shut up.
And it was a 2-minute drill. Joey Chestnut, the goat he is, straight out of the fucking Nathan's hot dog eating competition in Coney Island. Joey Chestnut, Ozzy, 3-on-1 pierogi eating competition right at center court halftime show. He ate 39 pierogies in 2 minutes. He beat the combined other 3 individuals by 17. Those guys only dusted off 22. Chestnut hammered 39. He takes the belt. He puts it on. He says, I'm the fucking people's champ. I'm one of the best athletes of all time, arguably, if not the greatest athlete of all time. And it was just an unbelievable scene. I thought it was hilarious. So you know how much I love Chestnut. So yeah, it was just crazy to see.
That is all time. Oh my, that is so funny. Did that actually happen? How does he? Does he just pick 3 random guys out of the crowd or what?
I think it was probably orchestrated where they had like, you know, some sort of gimmick where it was Chestnut night and they signed up, you know, similar to if you go at center ice and shoot the puck in the little square inch, you win something. So they took 3 willing combatants straight out of the Rust Belt in Cleveland, Ohio, and challenged Joey Chestnut to a pierogi eating competition, the GOAT of all eating competitions. What a goddamn competitor, though. 39 pierogies in 2 minutes. And Ozzy, these pierogies, they weren't small. Like, they were big. Like, I'm talking like almost like your fist-sized pierogi. He dusted off 39 of them. And those other guys, I mean, to put it to scale, like, those other 3 dudes were only able to eat, like, you know, 8 each, you know.
39 in 2 minutes? How is that even possible?
And they were huge. Like, we're talking like big pierogi. So it was awesome to see Chestnut still at the top. So I just wanted to ask you, what'd you have for your Celly of the week? Because I had my boy Joseph Chestnut.
Yeah, no. I don't know. I was having a tough time finding one, but I liked this. I mean, I was just watching, you know, Minnesota high school in these section playoffs, and they Celly like so fucking hard. And I don't know how to think about it, but the Century team goes up and they Celly on their student section, and the students were banging on the glass so hard they broke the glass and like fell through and went on the ice. So I chose that as my Celly of the week. The high school hockey Cellys are just so outrageous.
They're so outrageous. They're playing in the state tournament now too, right?
Yeah. I think I haven't watched any of those games, but yeah, I mean, it's just Celly after Celly, just insane Cellys. But I love that, like, you fall through the glass. You kind of deserve it if you're a fan, like banging on the glass, or like they had to have been leaning on it pretty hard.
Oh yeah, and just those Cellys are always like 5 Cellys into one. It's scrape ice, bow and arrow, heartbreaker, glass jump, then get some chick's number, and then all of a sudden I've done 9 Cellys, and I'm not even at the bench yet for the old choo-choo train. So those Cellys out of mini are always outrageous. Some of them are funny, some of them are just like, fella, holy fuck. But Nailgun of the week, brother, who'd you have for that?
Yeah, there's only one Nailgun of the week for me, and that is Reese Gaber, captain of the University of North Dakota hockey team. That kid is such a stud, comes back for his 5th year, wins the Penne Rosa, skating around with it, and then walks out of the Ralph with a Sioux black Letterman on, and unbelievable stuff. That's my Nailgun.
I like that. Yeah, that was nails to see. Reese Gaber, as you coined him, the mayor of Grand Forks. I love that kid. Just a cowboy from Manitoba. So keep going, fella. Maybe even come back for a 5th year. I know you got a girl there now, so maybe she Maybe she says, hey, Reese, come back for another year, baby. Let's do this thing again. But anyways, Auzzo, my nail gun of the week, Jason Kelce. He retires after 13 years, 6-time first team, all NFL, 7-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champ, legend, Cleveland native. He was actually at the game that Chestnut was at, so you could tell how much it meant to him, just the NFL, how sad he was. He's closing a chapter, fella, like we always do. It always ends at some point. So we wish Jason Kelce all the best. We know he's listening. He's a big Live in 5 guy. So in his spare time, I think he actually plays back our episodes. So that was a good one to see. So Auzzo, I think we should send it over to Buster Stapleton. I think the people will really enjoy this one. He's a goofy fella, as he mentioned. He is Filipino, but just ask him. He's Irish as well. So Buster Stapleton up next. Auzzo, as always, my friend, tape to tape with you. Crispy rice on the blue line. It's like we're just going D to D, no look. So that was the pre-show, episode 27. Chins tucked, throwing both ways. Folks, this will drop Friday. Hope you enjoyed it. Now, introducing from the cracked asphalt streets of Forest Park, Illinois, this half Filipino, half Irish lad skated in over 100 National Hockey League games prior to taking his talents east to the motherland. Famously known as Buster, he was once quoted saying, "I'm a Russian gas junkie." He may be 5'8", standing on a phone book, but folks, what he lacks in height, he makes up for in personality. Please welcome Tim Buster Stapleton to the Live in 5 podcast. Stapes, how we doing, baby?
What's up? Did you write that?
Oh, yeah. I had you dialed in like I was texting you before. I was doing my pre-scout on you.
You write it with the glasses on?
Shades are always on. I'm like Johnny Chan sitting at the poker table. I'm all in.
You have no idea what to write, and then you put the fucking shades on, and it's like...
Exactly.
Like, stop
and
writing.
The moneymaker gets going. But what's up, brother? How you doing?
What's going on? And thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, we appreciate you coming on. And obviously a friend of the show, Luke Stoffaker, a guy I grew up kind of hanging around. He's a little bit older than I am, Stapes, but he was a buddy of yours who played with in Green Bay as well at the University of Minnesota Duluth. But before we get into that, I just wanted to touch on just kind of your playing days or in and around Illinois, man. You grew up playing for the Chicago Chill. I was a Mission guy, Stape, so we used to whack those guys like Lamar Odom kind of running out of the Bunny Ranch. You know what I mean? We used to, yeah, the Chill. We used to just slash those guys around.
The Chill, did they even exist when you guys, the Mission was there?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they were the Chill, and then they were the Fury. But, yeah, they were the Chill back in the day.
They did? I don't know, man. When I grew up playing, why were you in the Mission?
Because we were, what do you mean? We're the number one team in the country.
No, I get
talking about it.
We're not going to go back and forth of who had a better youth hockey team, but aren't you from Madison? Like, how did it?
Yeah.
Like, I'm interviewing you guys.
I was going to say, are you coming in and interviewing me? But no, so me and my brother, Nick, obviously you played golf with him and in Madison and whatnot. But yeah, we played for the Capitals.
Why is he so good at golf?
I don't know. I'm like you. I'm a slasher, so I don't know where he got that from. But yeah, he's a hell of a player. But no, Stapes, we grew up playing in Madison, and then the Capitals they weren't perfect. Like, not a great organization, especially for our age groups. And so a couple families would kind of carpool together, drive down the 39 I-90 and go into, it was Seven Bridges and Addison at the time. They had the 2 rinks for the Mission. So we played there for probably 5 or 6 years growing up.
You would just make the drive back and forth?
Yes. Our parents would drive us down.
Dedication.
What's that?
Who was your coach? That is dedication. Like,
we had Anders Sorensen, who was our coach.
I love Anders.
Yes, beauty. Yeah, he got inducted to the Illinois Hall of Fame the other week. I think.
Yeah, I know what that is. I got inducted to that too.
Yeah, I was gonna say you probably got a silver stick for that too. Eh?
I'm in there, man. First Filipino,
Yeah, 100%.
Everything. I'm his first Filipino. Everything. Anyway, like anything I say, I'm like first Filipino. No, but yeah, he's great. I think he's doing. Where is he in Rockford?
Yeah, he's a head coach there. Yep. He's with
man, that's crazy. You guys made that drive. I mean, it paid out. It paid off, I guess, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I was a bust, but Nick's doing okay. They my parents though, like my dad would work all day, or my mom was a radiologist, and we just get in the car. They bought a Prius one year. We were driving the hybrid. They were a hybrid, kind of like you, half Irish, half Filipino. So we take that hybrid down and then go skate down there and play on the weekends. But Stapes, like, you played there growing up. Was there any other good Illinois products back in the day, kind of in and around the 82 birth year? Because I feel like the first wave of Illinois players didn't really come until maybe you or a little bit after that. And I was born in 93. So maybe in between somewhere in that decade of like guys coming out of Illinois, because I feel like there was hockey there, but I don't know if it was like where it is right now with the youth.
No, you're right. You're spot on, dude. I think when growing up, like playing in Illinois, you'd have thought I was from like Louisiana or something.
Yeah.
Right. Like, no, seriously. And
yeah, I know.
The only people before me, I felt like were like Celly. He's Chelios. I call him Celly. You know, that's just
your boy.
Nickname. I just nickname everybody, right? Like I know. And then who else? Bates Battaglia. You remember him or no?
Yeah, he played in the National for a while.
Yeah. So those, and then you're right. Like there was. No, I mean, I don't think there's. I mean, I played junior. I mean, dude, my story is kind of different. You know, like it's like I wasn't expected to go play in the NHL. I was not drafted. I played high school hockey for the first 2 years. Am I jumping ahead of your questions right now?
No. I was just like, where did you?
I just go off on. You asked me one question. I just go off on my whole career.
Yeah.
Anyway,
where were you playing Illinois high school hockey? Were you playing like private school? Or were you playing public school? Or like Fenwick? Or what school?
Did you say Fenwick?
Yeah, brother. Well, I grew up in the area for fucking 8 years.
Yeah, what? I'm so confused. You guys,
I mean, you're acting like you're living in Alaska at the time.
No, I know. We have Wi-Fi, we have internet, we have all that too. But yeah. So, no, I played at Fenwick. I played like Catholic League.
Yep.
High school. And it was just like my freshman year, I wasn't good enough to play varsity. And then my sophomore year, I played varsity, but it was like the first year you couldn't do like AAA high school, right? Like at the same time.
Yep.
So, and then my junior year, the Chill was that Larry Pedri came in with the Chicago Chill from, and he started that organization, and that was the third organization. Otherwise, it was CYA or Team Illinois.
Yeah.
How much better is that than high school hockey at the time?
Oh, it's like.
Was it like way better, or is it the same thing?
No, it's way better. Like AAA?
Yeah.
It was, and that's no offense to high school hockey, but I mean, it's a night and day difference for sure.
And Stapes, like, was that right when Pedri came in? Was that like the first year of Arctic Ice down there in Orland Park? Were you guys playing out of there right away?
No, we were out of Vernon Hills actually.
Oh, okay, yeah.
At like the I don't know what it's called. I forgot.
Vernon Hills. It was like it was something ice, wasn't it? It was ice.
Oh, Arctic Ice was Orland Park.
Yeah, and then
we were like the Glacier, and then we
the Glacier. Yes,
we stayed at like the Edge in Bensonville.
Right.
And so we did like double there, like there in like Vernon Hills. But yeah, we I don't know. Yeah.
So you play there. You play what, your senior year with the Chill, and then how do you get to Green Bay? If you probably weren't drafted in the USHL, did you just go to like a tryout? And obviously Marco Siki was the head coach there at the time. He was a younger coach. I think he had just retired himself as a player. He played a little bit in the NHL, and he took that job in Green Bay. I think he came down from North Dakota and was the head coach there. So how did you make your way to Green Bay?
Well, I played junior, senior year, the Chill. I actually got protected. I don't know if they still do that, but like Green Bay was like affiliated with the Chill.
Yep.
So I was protected, and I came to practice, and Pedri's like the first coach. Like when I got inducted to the Illinois Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yeah, not a big deal.
I'm just whatever. I'll say that about 4 more times throughout this. But I had him introduce me. Like I was able to pick someone because he was like the first coach that kind of was like kind of like, hey, you can.
He believed in you.
Yeah, and so I got protected by Green Bay, and I didn't know anything, man. Like I didn't know what the like USHL was. I went up there with a game saw a game with my dad, and it was just, I was like, what's going on? Like people are fighting, like wearing the visors, like that was new to me, right? Yeah. So that's how that all went down with Osiki and there, and yeah.
And that was like back in the days of Brown County Arena. I mean, we used to go watch games that we were talking about on pre-show. Is Luke Stoffaker. His dad was the owner of the team. We would go drive up from Madison. My dad actually used to train. My uncle used to train Stoff growing up. So we would go watch those games, and we go watch you guys. Were you rocking no visor back in the day in the USHL, or did you have the Windex on? Because a lot of guys playing at that time in the USHL, you could go no visor in that league, which I thought was just so nails.
Yeah, no, I wore like the half cage, half eye tech. Like the full, like
no, you didn't. No, I was gonna say,
I'm kidding.
No, you were the Mighty Duck team.
I just showed up with like a neck guard. No, No, real quick, speaking of Luke, like he's actually like one, obviously he's a mutual friend of ours, but he's one of my best friends, and his dad actually, I owe a lot to them because it's like, his dad believed in me kind of, right? Like when I went to Green Bay, Osiki, like nothing, it turned out to be great, but I think Osiki was like trying to trade me. Like he didn't really like the way I played. And then like Luke's dad being the owner, right, was just like, no, I think this kid's good. And it all kind of worked out. But going back to that, man, that's funny you say that because we had like all 20-year-olds that year. And there was a couple guys, no visor. I wore a visor, but it was like, that was all different for me, man. Like that was all like just new, right? Like the whole, like, it was almost like pro hockey. I mean, you guys know how it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to the Chicago question earlier, this is what I do. I jump around, guys. I'm like a Quentin Tarantino movie. You have no idea what the middle and the end and all that shit is. Anyways, going back to your Chicago question, you and your brother, like, you guys kind of turned it around, I think, or at least at that time, where like Illinois is definitely a hockey state now. Like it's crazy how great hockey is. Anyways, go ahead. Yeah. I wore a visor. That's the original question, right?
Yeah. Well, you got to protect. Tarantino. It's normally a gory movie, so being you got to protect that face there, Stapes, right? You can't be going no visor there. You got to be able to, protect that Filipino skin, that Irish in you. But I wanted to ask you, like, what was Osiki like back in those days? Because Oz was a guy that recruited me to go to Wisconsin. He was a little bit of a D whisperer, if you will, when he was running the bench there for Wisconsin under Mike Eves. He pumped out all those defensemen in terms of like McDonough, Gardner, Justin Schultz. So what was he like when you were playing for him? Was he a hardo? Was he, because I just had something written down that Stoff was telling me, like, you guys used to do like shot blocking drills, and like you like have to like dive face first at you and just like fire a clapper at you guys, like just with a real puck. Like that's like unheard of these days, obviously.
Dude, it's so like I don't want to use the word hardo, but he was a hard ass coach, but like he was like he wasn't fake though, right? Like that guy was kind of nuts, right? So he would, but yes, he taught me how to block. Like I never blocked shots, right? Like I never did. But I mean,
flamingo.
He made you like, you couldn't flamingo because he made you go down on like one knee and just like take it in the face, like it was And I remember it was like one of the first games. He's motherfucking somebody on the bench, and a puck came, and like it came over the bench and just like hit him right in the side of the head, like hard. And he's like, he'd even break like conversation. He just kept yelling at this kid, and blood's just coming down. There's this guy named T-Ball, like one of our trainers, and he's just like rubbing his head. And that's when I was just like, this guy's a psycho. Yeah, this guy's psycho for sure. But he like joking aside, he was awesome for my career. Like he was kind of like my first real like defensive. He was definitely a defensive coach. And he was, the whole shot blocking, you definitely didn't flamingo with him, that's for sure. Who had him as an assistant? Did someone just say that?
Oh, he was the assistant at Wisconsin when he recruited me to go there. So I had committed there, Stapes, like when I was like 14 or 15. Used to be a decent player. And then I decommitted because he ended up leaving and went to Ohio State. So, and that's when I ended up, kind of revisiting it. And Wisconsin was dog shit at the time. And I ended up at
Wisconsin.
I almost went to Wisconsin. Yep. Yeah, I was committed there for, I don't know, probably 15, 16 months, just over a year, probably my freshman year of high school. Yeah.
So you went to North Dakota, and here we are.
And here we are.
Live in 5. That's not live.
That's not live. It's going to be live in 5 days.
5 hours.
5 hours.
Oh, it's great.
No, we'll try to get this interview out maybe in the off season sometime. We can kind of
July. Don't like get people listening. Like you release it Sunday at like 10 p.m. or something like that.
Yeah, it's an absolute sleeper.
Stapes, did you? I mean, you put up your point per game in the USHL your last year. Did you have the pick of the litter, like for college, or how do you decide to go to? You just like Sandy or what?
No, man.
They got you a place just above Grandma's in the attic. They said, "Hey, Stapes, you can stay here. You can just slide down."
Look at this place.
Yeah, no,
this place is unreal.
They're just like we love Filipinos. They're like they were just really open to. No, I'm just kidding. But no, that's another good one. Like, so my second year in June, my first year or second year, they just like Steve Rollick.
Yeah.
Yep.
He came and visited and just said like he wanted me to come on a visit, and so I went by myself, and they like by the end of it, I just like Sandy was like, hey, like full ride, and I was like done. Like I had no idea, right?
That's all it took. Like you weren't thinking of any other spot. Like it was just like
another school. I'm telling you, Gage. Like I wasn't. dude, I'm like 5'8". Like it was. Just
I mean,
like,
you had a point per game in the USHL though. And that's pretty good.
Well, here's the thing: is like after I committed, I played my second year. Like this was like
you committed your first year,
kind of like right after.
Yeah.
All second year. I had a couple schools like Wisconsin. Like Billy Zito was my agent for like 15 years, and he had like something with Wisconsin, and he was like, Wisconsin was like interested, but I was already committed. It worked out, but you're right. Like maybe I could have like seen a couple other schools, but it ended up working out.
Yeah.
I mean, you were a point per game player at Duluth. Stapes, before we get to you turning pro, I got to ask you about one guy. Ozzy, he grew up in East Grand Forks, so he was a Sioux fan growing up. My connection with North Dakota, my dad going to school there playing football, 2 uncles as well. Obviously, me and Nick going there. But like, even growing up, watching you guys play like old school WCHA games, we had season tickets to Wisconsin. You got to touch on a guy like Junior Lassard. I mean, he won the Hobie Baker in 2003, 2004. Like, what was this guy like? Was he that good of a player? I just heard like through the grapevine and even through Stoff kind of back in the day, like this guy might have been like a dozen beers a night, maybe play some online hearts or some sort of poker game and just kind of crush it on the ice. Like, was he that good of a college player? And like to win the Hobie Baker, and this is no disrespect, but even coming out of Duluth, like that's pretty crazy. You guys do have 3 Hobie Bakers, but at the time, was he like a guy you thought it would be a shoe-in National Hockey League player, Stapes, or was he just kind of pretty good?
I mean, no, he could score, man. Like it was unbelievable. Like, but it all did kind of go down like that senior year for him, right? Not saying like he was bad before, but like he just like exploded that senior year. And yeah, man, he wasn't like a guy that like definitely. I mean, he took it serious, but he was like, it wasn't like, hey, like let's go hit the weights after the. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
Our gym was like grandma's,
right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But at the time too, Jordan, we were like you said. I mean, you said like Duluth, and the way you expressed that is actually like at that time we were like the JV squad of, the Gophers. We were like a bunch of misfits from like the Iron Range and Junior. Yeah, man, he could score. I don't know if his skating was. I don't know what as far as the pro side of things. I don't know. Like I know he didn't play long, right? I can't remember, but yeah, I don't know if it was his skating or what, but no, yeah, he just. Yeah, it's a good question because it's not like I'm thinking of other Hobie Baker guys.
Yeah, I mean, even just you see it today with like to win the Hobie Baker, I'm thinking like Jack Eichel.
You're pretty much a national leaguer.
Right,
Yeah.
I'm thinking like a shoe-in National Hockey League player. Even a guy like I'm trying to think, Ozzy, did Adam Fox win the Hobie, or is he like a guy like that didn't even win the Hobie? I don't know. I'm just trying to think of like big-time Hobie Baker winners, and he was always a good player when I watched
usually
him.
Now I think too, college is so big with like being like guys like he was a free agent, right? I believe. I don't think he was drafted, was he?
No, I don't think he
I don't
was.
think so.
So like isn't that kind of rare? Usually like the Hobie Baker guy's like a draft pick or something.
Typically nowadays.
Yeah. So I mean, I know the college route's like the way to go these days, but yeah, it was I think in the years before, like was Heatley a Hobie? No.
Yeah, I mean I'm looking at like some of the names here in terms of Yeah, you're looking at like Matt Carl, you're looking at Johnny Gaudreau, Eichel. I mean, even a guy like DC in the league, Cale Makar, you might have heard of him, Caulfield. Like some of these guys are just, I don't know. I just think like it was kind of like a random Hobie year, and that's like not discrediting anything he did, but I just thought I wanted to get your thoughts on him. But Stapes, your time at Duluth, you were an unbelievable player. I remember watching you, scrappy little righty, nose over the puck, had a good toe drag.
You should have been my agent.
I could have been. I was going to touch on your agent now. And Billy Zito, was he one guy that ultimately convinced you to go over to Helsinki and play in Finland after your time? Or like, did you not have any NHL deals because you were a smaller statured player, but you were still putting up points? Because I feel like Billy Zito back in those days had such a pipeline through Finland and then back to North America with Tim Thomas, Brian Rafalski, and you were kind of like that next wave of guys to go over to Finland specifically and then come back to North America.
Yeah, he was first off, I met Billy Zito in like a men's league skate, no joke, in the summer. Like I was like flying around like I was 16 and dumb and just going and beating up on guys that were like, like lawyers that were on their lunch break. Like I would come in and just like dummy these guys. And he would get pissed. He'd be like, "What, are you gonna go play basketball against the blind people?" Like, like he just like was like, who does that? What I was doing. But it was me and a couple other guys. But like that's how I met him. And he was like, and that's how like literally he became my agent, was just like he's like, "Oh, you can skate." whatever you want to call it. But when I graduated or when I finished Duluth, I signed right away in Portland. Anaheim was, they were like the only team really interested, but they had me go to Portland, and man, I was awful. Like I was like almost like scared. It was just it was just a weird, I wanted to be with my team. You know what I mean? You guys know how I wanted to kind of just stay, and I took the deal and left after my last game. Yeah. And it was just
ride out your bender, hang out with the boys, put your jean shorts on, and
instead I'm getting I'm just getting, we had like Trevor Gillies, Zenon Konopka, Shane O'Brien, just like meat,
Yeah.
And I come in and they're just like, I didn't say a word for like 3 months, but it was, and then after that I had nothing. The only teams I had were like East Coast League. So Zito was like, hey, I went on a tryout to Finland. He was like, hey, like go to Finland.
No way.
Swear to God, man. I went on a tryout for 30 days or whatever. It was like to play 5 games. And Zito's like, when they see you skate, like they're going to sign you. And that's exactly what happened. I had 1 point in 4 games. And they signed me like for $30,000.
Mm-hmm.
What ended up happening was it was a time when like Tuukka Rask and Antti Niemi, they had like 2 or 3 like first round goalies coming out of there. And so that's how Toronto saw me. They were just coming to scout like some goalies, and then I just was flying around out there. And that's how that all happened. But yeah, Zito had like guy's kind of like a genius when it comes to that. Like
for sure.
He was able to find guys that like were not expected to play in the NHL and get them to play,
Right. Yeah, that was like he was,
like I know Adam was drafted like the 9th round, but still Adam played he played a pretty long, a solid career in the NHL, right? Adam, obviously.
Yeah, well, I mean, he won a mug. He signed a 3 or 4 year deal in San Jose and made himself about $10 million odd bucks. That's pretty good for a 9th round pick.
100%, and that's exactly what he did. He did with Falsky. He did with like you said, Tim Thomas. Just these guys. And Finland at the time, I don't know when you played, but at the time I played, it was the closest to North American style of hockey for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So you went over there thinking like, hey, I'm trying to get to the NHL. It wasn't just
no,
I'm going to play. So you went over there like, yeah, this is good. Like I'm going to play European hockey, just ride out whatever I can.
Billy Zito Gage sat me down, and this is an every right to him. Like as a player agent relationship, he was like, you're 99% never going to play in the NHL. Like he told me that.
Yeah.
He's like, but you could go play in Europe, right? Like he's like, I think you could go play a long career in Europe. And I just kind of was, I got lucky with just trusting, like kind of his belief. And, then a year later, he's like, man, you proved me wrong because I was signing in Toronto.
Yeah.
But it went down exactly how he said it was. So, yeah, no, I just went over there to kind of, like I said, I went on a tryout.
What was a young Buster Stapleton doing when he was in Helsinki, Finland? Was it a culture shock right away, or were you just diving right into the culture of the saunas, the cold plunge, the salmon soup? Like what were you doing?
Soup, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I was over there for a year. Yeah, like were you?
I know, but I just that's like those are things that are like those are memories for sure. But like, I went over there. I was the only American at the time. Everyone knew English, but like they didn't speak it. Like what I mean? Like Finns are awesome. I'm a big fan of the Scandinavian Swedes.
100%.
They're awesome, but like they didn't like it would like it's not like they were speaking English at the time.
Mm-hmm.
For the first week, I would just like go back to the hotel. They gave me a car, and there was like a manual or a stick shift. I didn't know how to drive one. I had to like learn in the fucking parking lot at this Holiday Inn. Dude, I was like like you should have seen me driving in the streets. Like I'd be like in an intersection, just like.
Yeah.
Amazing. Like, dude, sorry.
I'm called out.
Blocking, people are honking, but I didn't know. I learned how to do that. But then eventually, they asked me to, it's funny you said about the sauna thing, because like they're big on that.
It was crazy what we'd be doing, Stapes. Like guys would go anytime the Finns would go, as they go 110. So they're it's shots until failure. It's karaoke. It's probably an ABBA tune, something, Give Me a Man After Midnight. And then it's like 3 or 4 in the morning when the club shuts down. And then they're like, all the boys would always want to go back to the rink and sauna. And a lot of these guys were married
at that time.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Dude, if you gave these guys a 24 hours, like for green light,
yes,
they're falling off bar stools. Like if you're at the bar, it's closing time when like someone's falling off a bar stool. Like they would get, And now,
why the sauna after boozing though? Like, aren't you already dehydrated? You're just trying to get more dehydrated.
Man, it's honestly, it's like, and Jordan, you can like agree. I don't know, maybe it was different, but like I remember the first time they asked me, they're like sauna party, and I'm like done, like let's go. And I get there, and it's like, dude, I was sitting in like the waiting room of the sauna with like 10 naked Finnish men.
Yes.
And I just had my clothes, and I was just like, wait, I was like, cheerleaders come? Like, what's going on? Like, no, it's like this is their time. And it's just what they do. You're right. But it's like they would either do it 4 a.m. I mean, who knows? But it was a big part of it.
After every game, Auzzo, especially a win, Saturday night win, you have a couple days off. There would be at probably 10 to 12 guys in there geared down right after. And they would just have beers in the sauna for, I'm not kidding you, some guys won't even go to the bar. It would be 3 or 4 hours, and they just rotate from the cold tub right back into the sauna. Or if they had a little spot kind of outside of the city at a house, they would go from there right into the Baltic Sea, right back into the sauna. And like Stapes said, there was never any chicks. So it would just be all dudes in there, and you go wrench out. So your hog is just hanging out. No one wears a towel, and you go in there and you just crush beers. You hang out with the boys, and a lot of time, but the cool thing about those guys, if you were in there as a North American or someone who spoke English, they would all speak English. That's You know what I mean? Like that, I thought that was cool. If it was Russian guys,
just a little respect there.
No,
they had some respect.
And I think it was just like with the locker room for the first week. It was just it would be like if we knew Spanish and there was we wouldn't be speaking Spanish. Like even though if the guy only knew Spanish, it was kind of like that. But you're right, especially when they drank, right? Yes. Like when they drank, they just became like fluent English. Like they like they like they didn't have an accent. But
absolutely.
They were great, man. That was 2 of the funnest years I had with Finland for sure.
I was gonna ask you, Stapes, like where was your hangout spots? Was like Casino Helsinki? Were you mixing it up in there? Because that was one spot I could watch Sunday football. So every Sunday I would go to the casino. I'd obviously hit the felt a little bit. They had some weird rules for blackjack. I kind of forget what they were, but they always had the big screen TVs, and that was like one spot I could go hang out and watch football.
Where did you play?
I played at IFK, brother.
Oh, you did? Oh no!
Yes.
How close are those rinks?
It's insane. I mean, it's a stone throw away.
It's like the Sox and the Cubs being like a half a block apart. It felt like
they're that close. I didn't know that.
I mean, I'm exaggerating, but they're literally like I don't know. It was like you couldn't even like chug a
quarter
beer.
Mile, probably. Yeah, probably a quarter mile. Yep.
We would at the casino. That's square, like Henry's. Did you guys have a place called Henry's with the wings?
Yes. Yeah. Chicky wings, stay light.
Yeah, dude. And like, so we would go like right around that square. I lived right in that square, like basically. And
like that campy.
Campy. Yeah. And so there was a lot, like there was a club there we'd always go to, but like I don't know, it was inside. And so it was just like, but yeah, that was kind of the area, like a lot, Casino though with the blackjack, they would like deal. The dealer would only take 1 card to start. Like that was one of the rules. Was like you would be like you look at your cards, but the dealer has 1.
Yeah,
and
it was something.
It was just like weird. Where like it just didn't. It was just like something was off about it, and like I never won, so it made sense.
You always get. I just remember I was always get rinsed. It was like so funny, and I was even. It was get hosed. I just want to last thing on Finland. I want to touch on. I think you played on the 2013 World Championship team there. It was in Helsinki, and we know a guy I played with at North Dakota. Danny Crystal was on that team. It was his first year out of school, and he was just telling me
Blackfoot like story where you
yes. He's the guy that almost got airlifted to the hospital because he went cold. So he joined your team. He played in that World Championship team, and I just remember he's like just there's a bunch of national leaguers on the team. Obviously, you had played in the NHL at this time, but I just remember him saying like Stapes just had the heartbeat of the city. Like he knew everything. Guys were taking loans off him to go to the casino. He had the bank there, so it was pretty cool to hear that.
Twice though, man. Like once in Finland, and then with a second time I played, it was in Minsk, Belarus.
Yep.
Where I mean, I'm sure you'll get into or whatever Russia, but like same thing. It was just like I was like the only non-NHL guy. I felt like on both those teams where guys were just like, who's this? I was like, who's this guy? And then I would do, like, after games, like just to organize shit. But yeah, no, I took advantage of the cities for sure. Like I got it was fun. I was single, like it was fun.
Yeah. Stapes, you play over there, you come back to North America, you muck your way through the jungle, you absolutely torch that league, the AHL, and then you get your chance in Atlanta and Winnipeg, and you have actually a sick year in Winnipeg. It was before the lockout. I think it was 2011, 2012. Where you had 27 points in 63 games. I remember you were like a third, fourth line guy, but like second PP. You were nasty on that team. How did it come about, like for the following year, going into contract negotiations, where maybe you could have stayed over here, played in the NHL, maybe on a one-way deal, but you ultimately make the jump across the pond and you go to the Continental Hockey League, you go play in Minsk. So was it just come down to the dollar amount there and what you could kind of get, or was it because you were hearing things of the lockout the next year? Or how did that come about?
Yeah, both pretty much. Like Winnipeg ended up offering me a year to come back, and they just, I was a minimum salary guy, and I was 30. And then, the KHL just offered money. That's just kind of like, I remember it was a tough decision but we all knew there was going to be a lockout. So I remember talking to Chelios about it, and I was like, what do I do? Like, I was, I'm like, and he was just like, dude, he's like, everyone, it's great that your parents are like, my son plays in the NHL, and it's great that your buddy, whatever. And he's like, this is coming from a guy, who just got his jersey retired. He's like, yeah, when you're done playing, no one gives a fuck. So go make your money. Right. So, granted, it was just a better financial decision, but I did have an agreement to come back, verbally, when the lockout ended. Yep. And I was going to go back to Winnipeg, but the team in Russia was no chance, because we were fighting for a playoff spot. I had a good year, and then I ended up just signing 2 more years, in Russia. Yeah,
and I wanted to ask you, on that team that first year in Minsk, you had sick players because there was a lockout. You were playing with Pavs that year. There was a couple other NHL guys, but I wanted to ask you, where did you run into in Russia? Where did you have Iron Mike Keenan? Where was that? Was that in Neftahimik, or what city was that in?
It was in Magnitogorsk. That was my last year. That was my 3rd year. I went back for a 4th year, but I think I went to Switzerland in between, or Sweden in between.
Yep.
But my 3rd year, he traded. I got traded to him. But the whole story of getting traded was dude, I had the craziest Russian coach who when I went on Spit and Chicklets and talked about this, his name's Vladimir Krikinov, and I was calling him I was butchering his name, and I was my Russian agent called me, and he was just you Finnish, or he's Russian media hate you. That's what he said. And I was why? And he's first off, and I get it. It would be I don't know, a big coach in the NHL, a Scotty Bowman, legend coach, and someone's calling him Steve Bowman on a podcast.
Right.
Steve Bowman's the worst coach I had. That's basically what I was doing to this Krikinov. But I didn't, whatever. But yeah, he ended up trading me, and I went to Keenan for the second half of my last year in Magnitogorsk. And he won it the year before. So he was crazier than the Russian guy. So
yeah, what was it like? What was the FU match you got in with Keenan, and you finally gave it back to him, and he almost respected you for it? Did he want you to go at you? Was it always mind games with a guy like that? Because he was if you look on paper, he was a hell of a coach. So what was it like playing for him? Was he just a little nutty and he had his ways, and then once you kind of saw through that, you were able to have a relationship with him? Or what was Keenan like? What was Iron Mike like?
He was oh man, I don't know. He was nuts, dude. And some of the best players that I've ever played for him, Messier, these guys, they just said the best way to explain it was you just didn't know what this guy was going to say or do, kind of. But he was an awesome dude outside of the rink. My wife was we had our son, and he let me go home for a week. But here's an example. I think I told this story. I grew up watching Iron Mike, right? So Chicago, and it was kind of a moment where I got traded. And I'm holy shit. I'm I was telling my parents about it, and then he called me, nicest guy ever. He was his whole theory was, I think if you want to win 2 years in a row, you got to change, a certain percentage, 10-15% of your team or something. So he's because they had the best Russians. So they had ridiculous, I was 100% going there for secondary scoring. These guys were sick.
Yeah.
And I got there the next day. We had a day off, so it was just me and him. And I talked to him in person for an hour. And then he's I'm just happy to have you. Da da da. Asked me about my wife. And then the next day we had practice. And this is the first time I'm with the guy. I knew one guy on the team. And I'm just sitting there. It's quiet. I'm just tying my skates. And he comes in, and he's just wow, fuck Stapleton, And I'm behind him at the time, and I'm just kind of and I'm hey, I'm right here. And he's what fucking position you play? I'm what? Like, I was like, what are you talking? Like, I was so confused. He's like, you a center, you a wing? He's like, I never heard of you. Like, I don't know why we traded for you. And I'm like, dude, we just talked. I was so confused.
Yeah.
And then he just like, you know, I think his thing was like just never wanted guys to be comfortable, really. And so I just don't know why he did that with me to this day. Like, it's like, dude, I'm 34 and I'm American. You're like, stop. Like,
Right.
He would be yelling at guys, like the Russian guys. Like, a Russian guy would be like sitting in a stall, like arm up, like just after a first period. And Keenan would be like, you fucking piece of shit. Like, you suck. And the guy had no idea what Keenan was saying. Like, Keenan would walk away and he'd be like, Tim, what did he say? And I'm like, you're playing fucking good, bud. Keep it going. Fucking good, bud. Like, it's nuts. So I to this day, I'm just like, why? Like, what was the point of it? So yes, he had me on a line my first practice. The next day was a game. Morning skate, he had me on a different line. But by the time the game was going to start, I was on a third line that was different. Like, dude, and he was always like calling he wouldn't call, like, you know, they call like the centerman up, like, Stapleton, your line's up, like the coach will call it. He would always call every guy, like Stapleton, Schwartz, and then like whoever, you know, Gage, whatever, right? He called up two guys that were not my line. Like, so I was already on like 3 lines at this point.
Yeah.
And so he called like the 2 guys up, and he's like, Stapleton, take the right side. And like my first shift with him was like, I was just like it was like a fucking, it was nuts. Cause I was just like, I had no idea what was going on. But that was just, yeah, man. I mean, he was, you know,
just
he
mind
won,
games.
though. Like, that was the hard thing. Like, he won. Like, it was just like,
Right.
this guy, what are you gonna say?
And Stapes, you told the story. I don't know if it was on Chicklets or where I heard it, but it was just like Keenan in the 90s. I think he was coaching Chicago at the time, and they were doing like a retreat or some sort of preseason shindig. It was up at Banff, and they were, you know, had the wives, they had the players there, and one of his rules was no skiing those days. And I think it was like a couple guys like come bombing down the hill. They're like, "Fuck you, Keenan!" And it's like Celly and Roenick, and they were just skiing right past him. What's that story?
He told me this story. Celly said it was. I think Celly said it was a little different, but when Keenan told me, it was just like, you know, they went on like this training camp thing, and he gave this speech, like, you know, Keenan, like, no one fucking skiing, but he goes with his wife, right? Like, the person. And so he said, I guess he's just like having a nice Sunday stroll down this like ski hill, and fucking 2 guys go bombing, one on the right, one on the left, with jeans on. And you're just like, fuck you, Keenan. And I guess it was Chelios and Roenick. But that's like back in the day, like, I guess, you know, like he was like, that's kind of how it was, man. Like, I think Keenan's like, I have a lot of respect for Mike Keenan. I actually do. Like, I like him. You know, he's that was his method, right? Like, it wasn't. No one's comfortable, and I think his thing was like, he gets the entire team to hate him, and that's how like the team would bond, right? Would just be like, everyone hate this guy, and you did, man. I remember I'd go home and like watch documentaries on him, and just be like, dude, what am I going crazy? Like, why do I want to kill this guy, right?
Right.
Like, or I'd call guys that played for him, and guys would be like, just tell him to go fuck himself. Like, that's how that whole thing went down.
Yeah.
I was like, I've never, like, I couldn't get myself to do that just because I never really had issues with coaches.
Yeah.
And so, and then that finally I just broke. I'm like, well, you know, that whole story.
You're leaving morning skate, you're crying, you're calling your agent.
Oh yeah, I'm like 34, like, I'm about to have a baby, and I'm like, oh, fuck, this guy's mean.
This guy's got you in the absolute blender.
Oh, dude, I was like but you played so, like, man, I think my dad was saying, like, he's like never seen me play like that hard. Like, I was like, dude, I was playing for, like, this guy would be like, your wife's cheating on you. You'd be like out there flying around like, my wife's not cheating on me, you know. Like, it's always go in my head. But you just didn't want to be held accountable by him, because he was, you just never knew, man, you know. Yeah.
If it works, don't change it, I guess, if that's his style.
I mean, I think, you know, obviously because he always had like an assistant with him that did all the you know, the X's and O's. Keenan, like, would come out. He always ran like he ran an unbelievable practice, like 20 minutes, but you were like throwing up after, you know?
Yeah.
And so he just got it, like, days off a lot. I mean, he just, obviously there's a reason he's successful, right? So
Stapes, I wanted to touch on, like, what was your day-to-day in some of these places? I mean, you played in a place like Neftahimik, and from my buddies that have played there, even just asking agents, dipping my toes into if I wanted to go play in the KHL during my days, that place wasn't perfect, right? Like,
that was one of those spots
Wait,
where you're just like, what are you doing on an off day there? Are you just
perfect? That's what that place was.
what are you doing there? Are you trying to do the Russian gas even on an off day to just give me a shot of something so I can kind of forget I'm in bumfuck Russia right now? Or what are you doing in those places? Like, do you have any imports?
Yeah, I was lucky. Like Minsk, Belarus, we had like, it was just because it was a team outside of Russia, so you had like, you can have up like unlimited imports. So we had like 10. It was like playing on an AHL team.
Yep.
And like Russia, like inside Russia, it's like 4 imports. But yeah, I ended up having Josh Hennessy, Dan. We had like 4 Americans the year Neftahimic. But man, we ate at the same place. Like you were just trying. It was like fun. Yeah, dude. I don't know. Like we had a driver. You have a driver. Yep. Like a guy that doesn't speak English. He would just like charge us by the ride, and like he would just like rip us off. He would like come to a red light and just like tuck their car off and be like, "Yes, prices went up." And we're like, "What?" And we'd have to like give him like more cash. Like he would just, he just get scammed. But
yeah,
it was yeah, man, it was different. It was
like, was it better if you were like in your one stop in Kazan in terms of like, weren't you staying at like at that spot? You have to stay at the Baza, right? Or they have like a place where all the boys stay, where it's kind of like a gated off security type, monitored place where you can you have to like check in and out of. Like, was that better, or was it better almost being in like a shittier city, but you didn't have that where you have to like be behind, kind of like, you always feel like you're being watched?
Yeah, there was a Baza, in like, it was just weird. We'd go like we'd stay there like for pregame, right? Like after morning skate, we'd go to the Baza. Like Neftahimic was okay. We had an apartment on our own.
Yep.
I lived with the other 2 guys, but like Kazan, we had to be. I remember the one time I came home from Kazan at like 2 a.m. in this Baza we lived in, and like I had like a bag of McDonald's, and they like called me in the next day, like, McDonald's. I'm like, how do you guys know? But they had me on like, I was like, no, I didn't. And they like brought up this camera, and I come home with the bag of McDonald's at like 2 a.m. But yeah, it was
coming in just half cocked.
Yeah, and they were just like, yeah, dude, the Baza was tough, man. It wasn't like. It's just like they want full control, right? Like, I think that's really what it is. But then I understood it because they gave us like a day off, like 1 day off, and like guys were getting like arrested and shit. I'm serious, man. Like this one guy came in, he was like, I had like 2 black eyes, and he's like, "Yeah, I got in a bar fight," and we're like, "Really? Like 1 day off and you get in a bar?" Like, and then I saw a video of this, like they had like video of it, like, and he like started like a riot, like he was like challenging like 20 dudes at a bar, and I'm like, dude, we got 1 day, and I understood why they never gave us days off, because these guys are crazy, But yeah, I would say that the Baza sucked, but that you just got used to it,
Yeah, you just grind.
You just grind, man. You just kind of like, you're like literally Xing days off.
Yeah. How funny is it with those Russian teammates that are coming in like with the Louis Vuitton jumper, got the full jumpsuit on. It's just like head to toe. Like those, did you get like close to any of those your Russian teammates? Were some of them more open to having a relationship, or was it kind of just like you were just like work buddies? You punched the clock.
I got I like my year, because I had good buddies that were Russian, but it was just like you would be like having a conversation, like you're speaking Russian and I'm speaking English, and we're like legit trying to have a conversation, and it's like, and eventually like they would speak like they were kind of like drinkers that like spoke English after they drank, but they were like, you have girlfriends, like and then you would like talk back to them like that, like, no girlfriend, you have girlfriend, like, right? What am I doing? But they were I had some good buddies. I think I don't know, right? Like I was just kind of, what was the original question that you just asked me?
Hey, I was just like, did you have like buddies that you were able to get close with, like even the Russian guys, like you said, like
like, can you get close to those Russians?
Yeah, no,
can barely even talk to them.
I was no, you're right. Like that's because I lost track there. Yeah, you can, but they're like, dude, they're like Russian. Like they're just like the amount of times like in the locker room we'd be like just Russian, like blah, 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 Stapleton, and everyone start laughing, and I'd be like, yo, like what the fuck? What just happened? Like, let me, But I think I just kind of like, believe it or not, like as much as I like to bitch about things, I actually wasn't someone that like went to the rink like that. Like I was always laughing and shit. So I think, I got along with a lot of guys. At least, I'm one of those guys that like everyone's my friend, but everyone hates me. Like I think we're best friends, but you don't like me. So maybe that was it. Maybe I thought I had a bunch of Russian friends, but they hated me. But I think no, they were fine. You it was fun.
It's always like I always felt for the boys going over to Russia, Stapes. It's like July 9th. It's always like right after 4th of July, and it's like the boys are packing their bags, and they have like 3 or 4 stops to ultimately get to their final destination. It's like Chicago. Now it's like Chicago, Dubai, Moscow, Omsk. It's like, and you're over there. Like, were you able to adjust to that, or was it always just tough leaving like mid-July, gearing up for a Russian training camp? You're like, fuck.
Dude, I was my 3rd year. I was driving with my wife to the airport, and I just started bawling. Like, so she's like, "Are you crying?" I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, "I've been thinking about this day for like 75 days, and it's here."
Oh
like,
yeah.
Like I struggled with that, like bad. I think I got kind of lucky because the World Championships allowed me to stay like an extra like 25 days. Like you played like for your national team, they allowed you to stay like extra. I forgot how that worked, but what was actually even harder was like not letting you go home. My first year at Minsk, we had to stay for 30 days.
Oh my God.
And like, dude, they didn't even they stopped. Yeah, it was crazy because we didn't make playoffs. And like,
were they stay after season?
Yeah, dude. It was like because your contract goes to April. Like the playoffs end in like February, or like you can be done in February at least.
Yeah.
And we were done, and they were just like, "You're not going." Like they made us like come to the rink every day. There was no ice. We would just like check in and take a sauna and then leave. And I had to do that for like 25 days. Dude, when you ever seen that movie? I always say, you ever seen that movie Argo with Ben Affleck?
Yeah.
At the end, they like clear like air customs and they're all like hugging and crying. Like that was like how it was when we left Minsk.
Oh my God.
Like, we go home now. We were all just like fucking grown men just crying and shit. But
Andy Dufresne leaving Shawshank. You're just throwing your way through the hole.
And it sounds way worse than it is. Like it wasn't like it was that bad. It was just like, dude, the season's over. I want to go home. Like,
right.
Did you ever have any issues like getting paid, or were you never worried about that?
Dude, I was pretty lucky. I got everything. The only issue at first was in Minsk. They just like stopped paying us like in December, and it was just like we didn't like. So like that was the other thing. The season ended. It was like we haven't been paid in like 2.5 months. Like they want you to like leave and break contract. That's what they're trying to do. Like I remember this one Finnish guy in Minsk was like he still was owed like 75 grand. He's like, I don't give a fuck. He's like, I don't give a fuck, and he just left 75 grand on the table. But he's just like, but and then all of a sudden like in May I just got it all. But that was there was like Neftahimic tried to. It was pretty good. I got lucky, but they would try to be like, hey, if you don't win tomorrow, like you don't get paid. Like they would try to fuck with you more than anything. Yeah. I think those horror stories of not getting paid were like just ended right when I got there, but you never know.
How hard does that gas hit, Stapes, when it hits you? Is it a head buzz, or what are we talking? Is it you feel like you're fucking Clark Kent, Superman? Like what's it like the gas?
Oh, fuck, that's a good question. I would sit out, like I would lay on my back. This guy would just like suffocate you with like a mask. He's got this tank. He's just pumping this tank, and I would put techno music on, and I would just be like at a concert, man. Like it was the best feeling ever. And then like I would be like driving home, like not sure like how what I mean. Like you lose some brain cells. It was weird
for sure.
And I don't know. I don't know. I mean, to really compare it to, but it's just like you're in a feeling of like you're in a euphoric feeling, like you're just like happy.
You like, felt like
Pavelski did it, and he came out and he was like fucking fluent in Russian, like he was like all over the place,
speaking Russian.
Like,
he was like, you're lost. He's like drooling. I'm like, yo, sit down.
So you're on the table, you lock in with the AirPods in, you put like Tomorrowland remix, the best of Tomorrowland on, you just sit there and
you're just like, and you close your eyes and you're not in Russia, dude.
You're not in Russia.
You're
and
like,
how long does that last?
Like a whistle in your mouth and you're just like clubbing. And it's like a 3-minute thing. Dude, we would have guys like the Russians would like try to get back in line after and like change their shirt, and the guy was like, "No, like yes." Like, that's how guys love. It was, I don't know. And they said it was for like the recovery and all that stuff, like on the flights, like the travel.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess so. I don't know.
Did you feel any different in terms of actually playing the next day or recovery, or was it just strictly just getting a nice buzz? Like, did you think it helped?
I don't know. That's honestly, like, I don't know. Like, I mean, there's games where I might have scored the next day and been like, Russian gas for sure. But I think that was just my way of like wanting to do more of it.
Right.
Yeah.
It definitely, I don't think it definitely, like, there was like no risk. Like, I don't think it hurt you, you know?
Right.
But
Right.
I think, then again, I'm uneducated on what exactly it was. So,
Right. We're talking
there were
about
legit Russian guys that were just like, they had like two, you know, they would be so big and you'd be like, dude, Evgeny, why are you so big? And he'd be like, steroids. Like, whoa, like, all right.
right.
Just know about it. So
Yeah, can I get a shot in my ass too, fella?
Yeah.
I need some
Oh, yeah.
corner weight over here.
Like, the trainer would always be like, their trainer, if I'm like, I got diarrhea in my stomach, he'd be like, injection? I'm like, no. And he, like,
No.
Abysmal. Like, I don't want an injection. That was the only English the guy knew. He was like, injection? I'm like, no. But yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. I don't think it was bad for you. I have no idea what I was putting in my body, right? A couple guys from North Dakota and Duluth talking about the science of the gas. I love that. Stapes, I wanted to ask you, like, who is the best Russian player that never played in the show you've seen over there? Like, you're like, this guy's just fucking nasty.
Sergei Mosiak, hands down.
Where did he play?
I played with him in Magnitogorsk. This guy was unbelievable. But, you know,
Are we talking like a National League player? Like if
he had a one-way contract offer every year for like 10 years and just never won. He was making like $6 million a year. Like, you know, he
just loved Russia too much.
He's just Russian, right? Like he was just like, there was no reason for him to ever go. And he was just nasty. Like, I mean, dude, this guy controlled the game. Like it was, I don't even know how to explain it. Like if there was a game-winning goal that needed to be scored, like he's scoring it like on fucking auto.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was almost like, yeah, I've never played with somebody like that had that, you know, I'm sure it's probably like playing with like a McDavid or something. I could just control the game like, you know, no other. With Sergei Mosiakin for sure.
Wow.
Why do those Russians love Russia so much? Like they're all just like Ovi's over here and like Malkin, there's like, give me back to Russia. I love it. Like, why do they love it so much?
I don't know, man. And I asked that question every day I was there. I was like, how do you guys like it here? Like,
yeah.
Because they were just, I mean, it's, you know, that's where they're from. I think,
yeah.
I always, you know, I always say there's 3 phases when I lived there. There was like the first phase was like fascinating because it's more about the people. People were just like not very, you know, not like here. So like I said, it's like fascinating. Like it was just like, what the fuck's going on here? And then like, you know, shit would happen. Like you come in, you're like little shit. Like you're in an elevator, you come down to the lobby at a hotel, like everyone waiting to get in just comes in. You have to literally like elbow your way out. Like, you know, or like the guy sitting at the shitter on the plane, like as soon as the plane lands, he's just bombing up. It's not row by row. So I'm sure it happens in other countries, but it's just like, for me, it was just like, what the, you know, crazy.
Yeah.
But the second phase was like, all right, dude, I'm not like, I'm having enough, like, I don't think this is getting annoying. And then the third phase was like, I just became Russian. Like I had no problem, like just running over like an 80-year-old lady for like a bag of chips.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like I was just like,
yeah.
They and I respected that, man. They weren't in like, if you were in an elevator, like they didn't like, you know, like here it's like, hey, weather's, you're talking to someone you never met, and then they leave and you're like, nice fucking jeans, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like you're like trash. Right. They just didn't talk to you.
Big gulps. Yeah, see you out there.
Yeah. But they just didn't like that was no, they didn't care about that. It was just about what they had to do, and I over time I respected that. I was like, yeah, I like it. They're not fake, is what I'm saying.
Stapes, if you're a single guy like myself and you're going over maybe to play in Moscow, like you could probably find a souvenir to bring back here, right? Like there's some pretty high end looking women over there, no?
Yeah, dude. Like yeah,
right.
Yeah,
like
you go to Moscow.
Yeah, I should book my bird into Moscow.
Like I'm not even gonna tell you why. Just go, and you'll be back here. Like dude, you have like 3 white.
Right.
You know, like no, it's yeah, there's something.
Like, is Moscow a nice city? Like the Red Square in and around that area? Like it's
unbelievable.
Like restaurants, it's nice, it's clean. Like it's
the
nice.
most like it's the best city. Like especially if it was like a bachelor party or something, I would be like, dude,
yeah,
go to Moscow. I mean, it's crazy. It's I'm sure it's like something like if you want to say like a New York or something, but it's like instead the Red Square. They're like they go all out. Their big thing is like New Year's.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it's really crazy. Like that's a huge deal to them. And then like when New Year's happens, like people are, you know, like Roman candles and fire. Like there's like everyone has one and they're like shooting them at it. Like it's like a war zone when like New Year's happens. People are just fireworks at each other and shit in the middle of like Red Square.
So many emergency room visits from guys losing their hands with fireworks.
Moscow was unbelievable. Oh man, it was awesome. Ask
Yeah.
Stops about it. His business.
I will, because he said once you spent that time in Moscow, you're like, I'm going to be here for the next 2 months, because I think you were playing in Switzerland or somewhere before that. You signed with Spartak, and you're like, you got to get here. He said 2 weeks later, I was in Moscow snapping around with Stapes. So, Stapes, my last question for you. You're getting into golf now. You built yourself a simulator at your house. You said you actually, one time it's broke on you twice. One time it was a casualty of a bad swing of a PVC pipe going down, and the other time I'm not sure. But how's the golf game, brother? Are you turning the corner? Because as a fellow slasher, the game just pisses me off, because I'm pretty good at everything else I do. I'm not just saying that. I think I am. But golf, I can't figure out this fucking sport.
Yeah, dude, I got that could be a whole nother episode on my golf game. No, I'm with you. Yes, and the whole simulator thing, thanks for bringing that up. But yeah, I did hack my own simulator down. I built like this piece of shit simulator, and my swing on the follow through like cracked. Dude, I was holding up, like I was trying to like hold up this simulator for like 20 minutes. I was running back and forth. I just let it come down. But yeah, you're a joke. That's what I was just like, this is embarrassing. No one was around. Speaking of golf, I'm with you. The thing that sucks for me is I live on a golf course with my own golf cart, and I'm literally out there. Like I'll go play, like if I have 40 minutes, I'll go play like 7 holes or 5 holes. So like for how much I suck, it's very like just confusing, because it's like, dude, I have no reason to be bad. And I think, I don't know. I just, for me, it's just like it's all like a head game. I don't know what it's like for you, but it's such a game that's so like
it's all head.
Like a bad swing, I'm done. I remember what I did, and I'm just trying to correct that the whole time. And like next, like it's like by the 13th hole, I'm like, I don't no idea where the ball's going. Yeah. Now it sounds like I'm a hack, but I'm not. It's just that I play with like your brother here and there, and it's like, dude, right. This guy, your brother I played with in Arizona like not too long ago, and they played from it was like embarrassing. He brought me to play like silver.
Yeah,
you
went over and played. You played Silverleaf with him and Gage.
Shot on a par 4 is like still like 300 yards out. Like what's fun, like
yeah, it's like they're looking at you like, take the head cover off, Stapes. Come on, what are you doing?
I 200, like it's just dude. I was like, I remember playing holes at that time, and they were like, everyone's on the green, and I'm still like 200 yards back. I was like ball in pocket. Like it was just like, dude, that's fun. But no, it's I was just in Arizona. Is that where you're at, right?
Yeah, I'm in North Scottsdale.
I was there like 2 weeks ago, and I feel bad because you
thanks for texting me.
Yeah, I played in a charity hockey game with like Dustin Bufflin and
okay. Yeah.
And we went to the waste management. It was that weekend, the waste management weekend.
Okay, yeah.
Commodore?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, he's a Sioux guy. He spent some time up in Grand Forks. Like during my freshman year, he was like in and around. I think he was looking for a deal. I think it was before he went to Russia, like right around the Olympic break. And he just came in so hot, like on a 2-week bender. So
I don't know him. I just met him out at the thing. He's coming on our podcast tomorrow. But
he's a legend.
He is, man. I saw him walking. He was walking into the rink for this charity hockey thing with he was like a rolling bag.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
roller bag.
You know what I mean? I was like, dude, are you rolling up? I never met him. I was like, dude, roller bag. It was like a Calgary Flames one too. I'm like, dude. No, he's great. He's great. There's a lot of guys out there, right?
There's a ton, yeah. There's a bunch. And they're all like just kind of like spread out in random areas. And yeah, there's a bunch of guys, man. And there's always guys popping in. You know how it is. It's everyone wants to get to the warm weather when especially this time of year.
I go once a year, always around like February.
Yeah.
And so where are you at? I mean, this obviously doesn't have to be.
Yeah, North Scottsdale, like literally probably I would say a couple driver lengths away from like right around TPC, like right up here.
Like 7-iron for me, driver for you, kind of type thing.
Yeah, like 5 7-irons and maybe a driver for you, but yeah, I'll soft away.
Like 3 drivers away.
Yeah.
What Gage? Where are you at?
I'm in Minneapolis.
Oh, you're okay.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
No.
You don't like the Gopher country?
Dude, I love Minnesota. I'm a huge fan. Obviously, I went to school in Duluth, but I'm a big fan of Minnesota, Wisconsin. They're kind of like, people. I just like, their style, man.
I'm more of a North Dakota guy myself, but yeah, Minnesota's it's okay.
Sports?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a Nailgun.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah. People actually live there.
Yeah, you get the internet. Like, how are you getting on this thing? Yeah, no, it's no, I love Minnesota. It's awesome. Where in Minnesota?
Minnetonka.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, just right outside the city. It's not. It's not bad. I don't love the taxes here, but there's things to do, and it's not bad. Family's close, so yeah, I like golfing. Yeah.
Where do you play at there?
I kind of bounce around. I don't belong anywhere. I'll play like Rush Creek, Troy Byrne. Yeah, kind of have Brock Besser take me out on Hazeltine, whatever. Kind of just ride the coattails of the big guys I know, and then just pop around and play whatever course.
No, I love it. I gotta go. I don't know. I'm just yapping, guys.
We gotta tee it up I'll come to Madison this summer, Stapes, to get out of this fucking heat of the desert in like July. We'll have to get you up to Madison and we'll play Maple Bluff with Stoff and Nikki. We're more so glue guys anyways, right? You got a pool and a pond. A pond will be good for us. So we'll get up there.
Yeah. No, we're not like, I'm a good partner. Like I'm actually really good, like I'm a
good scramble partner.
What'd you say?
Good scramble partner.
Yes, exactly. Like I'm like like I could just throw birdies up here and there, right? But that's all in pocket for the next 4 holes.
Right. I mean, you got a good set of hands. You could probably make a putt. It's just anywhere in between that. Well, that's kind of where it gets a little dicey for myself. I carry two.
Swing, I'm fucked. Like, don't.
I mean, Stapes, you're talking to a guy that carries 2 big sticks in my bag. I got 2 drivers just in case. One that I hit a power tug with, and one I hit a banana cut with. So it's all over the goddamn map.
If I demo a driver and I hit a drive good, I'm buying it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Then I have like 9 drivers. None of them they're all like fucking
right.
We're all the problem.
Yeah. It's like when you go to the PGA Superstore and you're putting with that Scotty Cameron and anything remotely close to that hole is going in because everying just funnels in. People don't know that.
Yeah.
They funnel it to the holes. Yeah, it's such a good.
And then like the first putt on a real golf like green, it's like 20 feet past and like
you put it off the green. Pick it up, 6 for 5. Let's keep her going.
6 for 5, yeah. It's like just hoping, I putt just hoping I'm in a gimme range.
Oh my god, there's nothing better than a gutsy 6 for 5 on a par 4.
Just scraping, dude. I get I'm like easy money at my club. I get beat by nerds.
Yeah, that's the worst.
Like struck out in kickball. I was telling you this. Like
guys, you would stuff into a locker.
They're like, you play professional sport, like questioning.
Right.
Like
you're giving the old Happy Gilmore line. You used to play ice hockey. Shut up.
Shut up.
Yeah, like I roll in. Like if someone invites me, like at least around here, like I'll show up. Sometimes the guys will be like, I thought you'd be bigger, like 6. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like 5'8" Filipino. They're like, you playing in the NBA? Like what?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, motherfucker. Like I did. Don't give me your I blew my knee out story in '85 at the YMCA. Like you could
that's why I didn't make it. Blew my shoulder out. Sucks.
It's like, dude, I failed.
Oh, those guys are the best. Had a couple offers. Just figured school was more important. It's like, buddy.
Oh, or they'll be like, yeah, I could have played. I just go like, played what? Like,
played what?
Like I don't know. Like hockey. I'm like, dude, really? Like, dude, I failed. Like, what?
Yeah.
What are you even talking about here? That'd be like a heart surgeon, and I'm just like relating to hey, I know what you're talking about.
Right. I could have been a heart surgeon. I just wanted to play hockey.
Yeah, I see Grey's Anatomy. Like, I get it.
Right. I dissected a rat back in biology class in 10th grade. Like, I think I could probably perform open heart.
Teacher told me I was good at it.
Yeah, it's
out of a hell of a fucking pinch.
It's fun to do like this kind of stuff with guys like you, and it's just kind of, you do miss that shit, right?
100%. It just feels like we're in the locker room right now. I mean, I can't imagine playing with you and Stoffaker on the same team. I don't think I would get a word in, man. You guys would it would be and I'm myself too.
That's what I feel about Stoff.
Yeah, I mean, even myself too. I mean, I'm not exactly a quiet personality. I think it would just be guys talking over each other just to try to get the best one-liner.
It's the best.
The goddamn rah-rah pack of Chihuahua.
Oh, Stoff's is the best.
Yeah, but
he's such like a pit bull, like he's just
he's a bull in a china shop. I mean,
dude, he's like I call him the most confident man. Like we'll play, we'll be partners in golf, and he'll be red-eyed, like half in the bag, and then like he's putting, and he'll look at me and be like, 0% chance I missed this, and then drain it. I'm like, wait a minute, like what just happened there? Like who says that and then does it? Like that's. Like I'm already planning on a 2-putt, like no problem, So
he's I don't know if he's told you this story, and I don't know if I really want to dive too much into it on this pod, but basically, Ozzy, this guy, you're talking to a guy that he'll just win whatever. Like people have challenged him. Like he doesn't really work out a ton. He's been challenged like mid-party. He's like, Stoff, there's no way you can run a 6-minute mile. He goes down, gears down, goes into his house, gets on his treadmill in front of everyone. He's got a bunch of money on the table.
gears down, runs a 6-minute mile. Like probably like sober, he probably runs like 8 minutes. But somehow when there's money in the line,
that's a good point.
The putt he'll make. He also ended up wrestling this guy that played at UW, who was like 6'6", like offensive lineman. I think he was like or maybe he was a tackle, or he was either a D end. He choked this guy out. Like Stoff is like 5'9". You know what I mean? He's just gonna win.
You could have Stoff on the show, and it would be a good episode.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, he's an all-world beauty.
Ask him about when he, like, if you look up his stats, this guy's short, like 5'7", and he like led the league in like fights.
Yes.
Like the UHL, like the United League or something.
Yeah.
So ask him about when he got done playing, and like a year and a half later, like there was an East Coast League team out of like Illinois, like in, I forgot where, one of the suburbs towards.
Yeah, it was like Evansville or something.
Yeah.
Somewhere weird.
You know this story when they asked him like the guys, and so he was like working in like one of the Holiday Inns, and he hasn't played in a year and a half. It's an unbelievable story. And he went there and like. It comes in with a Duluth bag. Guys are like, a Duluth bag from like the year 2005, right, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, long story short, he's like started a line brawl like first shift, and guys were like, what are you doing? Like he came in the warmups and he started talking shit to this like Robin Big Snake, like some.
Yes.
And guys were like, dude, don't talk to it. Like, who is this guy? And Luke's like, dude, I fought this guy. Like, fuck that, Like, everyone's just like, dude, what are you doing? And he's like, Luke's like, he just came from the office at the Holiday, and after a year and a half, he just started a line brawl. And then they said he was leaving, and the coach was like, where are you going? He's like, I'm going back to Madison. They're like, no, get on the bus. And he went with the team for like 2 more games.
Oh my God. He is all time. Yeah, he really is, man. He's an all-timer. So Stapes, we want to just thank you for coming on, brother. That was great. Great snap. Great hanging out with you. We appreciate you coming on and hanging out with the boys over here at Live in 5. That is not a live show. So if we drop this within the next Olympic year and the next 4 years, we'll let you know. We'll tag you.
I'm trying to think if that's because it's like live, not in 5 show, or it's just like you don't want me to be like released. One of the two. What episode are you guys at? Like 27? I was looking.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna be released at like 132.
Right. Once we hit the off-season calendar, the do not call or text. We're Tim Stapleton on here, folks.
It's like, oh man, no, I appreciate it, man. I obviously anytime. It's always fun.
No, this will come out Thursday, so be on the lookout for that.
You guys do it like that fast, huh?
Yeah, we got a gal that snaps it around pretty crispy rice, so it's nice.
How's it going? You guys like it?
I do, man. I mean, fun. Ozzy he's been doing it longer than me, and he runs a full-time moving company, so he's killing it with that. And this is my first year not playing, so I enjoy it, man. I really do. I like talking to people.
What were you doing before?
What was I doing last year?
No, yeah, just being done. Like, what were you doing until?
Oh, I finished last year in Switzerland. Got back like right around this time, February or March, and then I was like, you know what, I want to dive into some media stuff. So I obviously have my Butter Golf company too, but I've been doing stuff down here with the Coyotes. We're actually I'm making my National Hockey League debut on TV on Sunday. Going to be calling the Coyotes game and the Blackhawks game. It's like they have their normal cast,
play by play.
Yeah, it's kind of like their alternate cast. So you know how Chicklets did that stuff on TNT with
yeah.
So basically it's like an alternate cast where you can watch the game with like the local Bally Sportsnet with the normal guys of like Todd Walsh and Tyson Nash. And then on the other side of it, it's me and the Heat Daddy, the guy I do Hockey Night in Scottsdale with. So you've probably seen his stuff on Twitter, Stapes.
That's unreal, man. Good for is that like something did you go to school? Like was that you do like when you did that intro, like joking aside, I was like, dude, this guy's got like the voice.
No,
he does.
I've always wanted to do it. I mean, dating back to my junior days, I had like a funny TV like Facebook show. I used to just fuck around and like interview guys in the league. Like I've always wanted to do it, and I think just kind of like between like color commentating, play by play, and then getting off the rails on whatever else the hell we talk about. But dude, I like it a lot, and that's kind of what I want to do. Get this mark on TV.
Yeah, no, I love it. I have a hard time like for me, like I can't like listen. Like I'm trying to overcome that like. Hearing my voice kind of
me too,
and so we've done 100 episodes on this podcast I co-host. I haven't listened to like one of them.
Really?
Yeah, it's tough, right?
No, I'm being serious, and I know
your voice just sounds so weird.
It's just like, I gotta, and I know you can get better. Like I know you better yourself by here because you don't know what you're saying sometimes, right? Like
no, you're right.
You're like, dude, I say fuck like every 10 words, like maybe, and so it's awesome that you're doing that, and I think for me, I'm still figuring that out.
it was funny because we did like a trial run the other week, and I was like, I set the amount of swear words at like for me and my buddy, the Heat Daddy, at 17.5. And like I had like 2 F-bombs right away early, and then I was doing pretty good in the third period. It was like a bad play. I was like, holy fuck. Oh shit. My bad. So it's just funny.
Now, what do you honestly personally like? What do you feel about that? Like, do you think it sounds like shit when you do that, or do you not?
No,
care?
I think it's good. I think hockey needs more like raw, uncut,
like organic,
ways to, like a Manning cast, but it's like more X-rated, but it's also like knowledgeable at the same time. Like you tiptoe that line of talking about things that probably are a little bit off the screws, but then also I can break down a forecheck, talking about Jimmy going in as the F1 and, getting really good body positioning. So I don't know. I like it. I just think there's
you want to do like actual real, like be on a panel. Like,
fuck yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Fuck that dude. Good for you, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You ever talk to Biz? Do you know him at all much?
Yeah. We've had him on a hockey night in Scottsdale down here, sitting on my couch 2 or 3 times. I work out with him a couple times a week when he's here.
I love him, man. He's like one of my favorites. But he's so good because he's just like organic, right? Like, he's just himself, man. Like I always say, like, you know what you're gonna get with him. Like he's awesome. That's awesome. Tell him I said hello for sure.
I will.
All right,
Stapes. Well,
what's part 2 of this?
I was gonna say,
This is like a 5-part series, right?
Yeah, well, it's like The Godfather. So we'll have you on here for the first one, and then bring you back on, folks. That is Illinois Hockey Hall of Famer. Folks, he will tell you he's Filipino, but he also has a little Irish in him. So that's Buster Stapleton, absolute legend. KHL stories for days. Stapes, thanks again, baby.
Yeah, thanks, guys.